listening to HOJO Radio. Our next broadcast premiered in 1935. The program struggled in the ratings until 1940 when it became a national sensation. Within 3 years, it was the top-rated program in America. Few radio shows were more beloved, and few play as well half a century later. It was the brainchild of real-life married couple Jim and Marion Jordan and was broadcast to the nation from WMAQ Chicago. The show entertained America until March of 1956 and continued on NBC's Monitor until 1959. We invite you to join us at 79 Wistful Vista with Fibber McGee and Molly right here on HOJO Radio.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly. The makers of Johnson's Wax and Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat present Fibber McGee and Molly, written by Don Quinn, with songs by Martha Tilton and the King's Men, and music by Billy Mills. The show opens with Sing a Song of Spring. Fibber and Molly will be here in just a moment. One of the most interesting things to me in all of business is the way chemists and engineers are constantly improving old products and bringing out new ones. The last time I went through the Johnson's Wax laboratories, for example, I got a big kick out of all the things they've been doing with wax. Now, you know the regular Johnson products we talk about on this program. Genuine Johnson's Wax for floors, Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat for linoleum, Johnson's Car New Auto Polish, and the new Cream Wax for furniture. But that's not the half of it. The makers of Johnson's Wax have created a great many other wax polishes for special uses. And now they've made a new kind of paint that's got wax in it. They call it Johnson's Wax Enamel. And I can tell you it gives the most beautiful enamel finish I've ever seen. And it's longer wearing and easier to clean, too, because of the wax in it. Dealers are now offering Johnson's Wax Enamel in 19 stunning colors. Why not ask your dealer if he carries it? The saddest phrase to man or mouse is, "Come on, sweetheart, let's clean the house." And here at number 79, where life till now was smooth and fine, comes labor, tough and acrobatic, like hauling junk down from the attic. Wives wallow in it, men think it folly, like these two, Fibber McGee and Molly.
Let's sit down a while and rest, Molly. Are you sweating as much as I am?
McGee.
Huh?
Horses sweat. Men perspire and ladies glow.
Okay, so I'm a horse. I'm a pack horse. I'm an overworked, sway-back, mistreated beast of burden. Will you please lead me out to the kitchen and fill my trough full of root beer?
You can have a root beer later. I want to get all this stuff sorted and thrown away. Now, for instance, look at those books in the shelf there.
Yeah?
We've got to weed those out, too.
Well, which one shall we toss out?
Well, let's throw away the two on the ends and keep the one in the middle.
What is the one in the middle?
Franklin's autobiography.
Oh, I want to read that. That Franklin was a great oil. Come in.
Hello there, kids. What you doing?
Why, hello, Mr. Oldtimer. We're doing a bit of a house cleaning. You want to help?
For how much?
2 bits an hour and feed your own Charlie horses.
That's pretty good, Johnny. But that ain't the way I heard it. The way I heard it, one feller says, t'other feller, says, "Who's this feller Feudal that's been working with Fibber and Molly?" "Search me," says t'other feller. "Where'd you hear about him?" "This radio column," says the first feller. "See here? It says, Feudal attempts to be funny on Johnson's Wax Show." Nothing personal, kid. You know how I feel about you. So if you know how I really feel about you, you're liable to take it even more personal than ever. Oh, never was one. Oh, hey!
Now what?
Got a telegram for you.
Oh.
Here, Johnny, sign here.
Oh, thanks, old-timer. How much of a tip do you usually get?
How much you usually give?
Oh, nothing. McGee says when you accept a tip, it undermines your character.
Okay. Give me a quarter and let her topple. Thanks, Johnny.
Well, who's the wire from, McGee?
I'll see. Hey, it's from my brother, Alexander.
Zan?
Yeah.
Why, you haven't heard from him in a long time.
No.
What's he say?
Says arrived okay in San Francisco. Tough trip, tired but happy.
What's he mean, tough trip?
Oh, he lost an election bet and had to push a peanut with his nose from New York to San Francisco. Yeah.
Heavenly days. Well, he still made pretty good time, didn't he?
Oh, I don't know. He bet against McKinley.
Well, let's get busy, McGee. The sooner we get to work, the sooner we'll get through.
Yes, and the sooner we didn't start this in the first place, the quicker I'd be much happier right now. If I'd ever realized what you got there.
Never you mind.
Well, what you blushing about? What you reading?
Well, if you must know, it's some old love letters.
You mean you've been keeping them things?
Sure.
You can't get me for a breach of promise now.
Here, smell 'em, McGee.
What do you mean, smell them? Did I write that bad?
Now, don't be silly. I've been keeping them in sachet.
Well, you can sashay right back up to the attic with them. I don't want them things laying around.
Well, I promise you, dear, as soon as I read them through once more, they'll be burnt up.
And so will I.
This is a beautiful one. It says...
No, please, Molly. Now, not out loud. Somebody might be listening.
Well, if they aren't, we'll hear from Racine. But listen, this says, my precious blue-eyed butterfly.
Oh, sure.
My precious blue-eyed butterfly, spread your lovely golden wings and fly away with me tonight to a movie.
I sure took that flight of fancy into a tailspin, didn't I?
You certainly did.
Well, maybe my letters weren't so hot, but I had to do something to beat that other guy's time.
You mean Otis Cadwallader?
Yeah. Otis X. Cadwallader.
What do you mean, X-Cadwallader?
You know what I mean. He knew you were crazy about Francis X. Bushman, so he put an X in his name, too.
Well, I think it was pretty devoted of him to change his name for me.
I done better than that. I changed your name for me. Well, anyway.
Oh, McGee. Listen to this.
I won't listen.
All right. Heavenly days, this is sweet.
What's it say? I guess I kind of got a morbid curiosity about them. When a guy realizes what a drip he's been, it's too late to fix the faucet. That's an old saying I just made up.
Ah, this is beautiful. It says, I'll never forget the time I first touched your little hand. It was inside a bag of popcorn at the ball game.
That's disgusting. Mooning over touching a gal's greasy little mitt in a big bag of salty popcorn.
Wait till you hear some of the others.
I don't want to hear any more. Are we going to get this house cleaned out or aren't we?
Oh, there's no hurry, dearie. I'm having fun.
Oh, I'm not. And if you persist in reading that tripe, I'm gonna...
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna lock myself away somewhere so as I won't hear you.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I will.
Where?
Right in here. And while I'm in here, I'll straighten out this closet.
The King's Men sing Little Brown Jug.
My wife and I live all alone in a little log hut we call our own. We're so happy, warm and snug, as long as we have our little brown jug. Oh, ha, ha, you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? Ah, ha, ha, you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? When I'm working on my farm, I carry a little brown jug under my arm. I sit me down in the shade of a tree and I say, you fly, don't bother me. Ha ha ha, you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? Ha ha ha, you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? Little brown jug goes to my head and makes my nose a rosy red. In the dark it shines so bright and never gets lost on the blackest night. Ha ha ha, you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? Just we two, me and you, having a great big spree. Little brown jug, little brown jug, little brown jug, little brown jug. My wife and me are as happy as a bug. We get along fine with a little brown jug. I beat her, she beats me. We love each other tenderly. Oh, oh, you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? In the winter time you warm my toes. Every time I tip you up, down it goes. Oh, 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 you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? Oh, 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 you and me, little brown jug, don't I love thee? Oh, 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 can't you see? I love the little brown jug for me.
Hey, Molly, I'm thirsty. Can I have some root beer now?
Later, McGee, later. Take that last box of rubbish out and then start taking the slip covers off the furniture.
Oh, I want some root beer. Here I've been busting my biceps hauling this junk around, and you've been sitting there reading my silly old love letters.
Well, they're not silly.
Ah.
They're beautiful.
Oh.
Listen, darling, when I hold you in my arms, even the nightingale hushes his song to listen to the music in my heart.
Yeah.
The moon...
Hello, folks. How's everything?
Why, hello, Mr. Wilcox.
Hi, Harlow.
Well, what are you looking so grumpy about, pal?
Well, he's annoyed with me, Mr. Wilcox, just because I found some of my old love letters in the attic and I've been reading them.
Well, Dad, it ain't that enough to be annoyed about? Stuff a guy writes in his flaming youth makes him sound like a clinker at my age.
Let me read him one, dearie. Mr. Wilcox will judge for himself.
No. Don't be a pest with my past. Don't listen, Wilcox.
Oh, I want to hear this, Fibber. I was young once myself, you know.
Oh, yeah? You can't kid me. You were born in Racine, Wisconsin at the age of 25. With a derby hat, and your nurse used 3-cornered order blanks for diet.
McGee.
Okay, they got it anyway.
That's enough of that now.
Okay, go ahead, Molly. Read my love letters to Wilcox. Break his heart, if any. What matters if I, poor fool, little knew that my innermost thoughts, my most sacred feelings would be torn asunder for the laughter of the mob. What if I...
Oh, pipe down, Pagliacci. Your makeup is running. Go ahead, Molly. Let me hear one of the great lover's little outbursts of passion.
Well, here, I'll pick one out at random, Mr. Wilcox. The ink's a little faded, but I think I can make it out.
Yeah, when I write a letter, I make sure the ink stays.
When you do anything, it ain't...
McGee. Are you ready, Mr. Wilcox?
Go ahead. Quote the stupid to me, Cupid.
Well, this one says, Dear Moonbeam.
Moonbeam.
Yes. Dear Moonbeam, I could not sleep last night for thinking of your sweet face.
I didn't like that stuff.
I got out of bed and dressed and walked over to your house and stood under your window thinking of you lying there asleep with your lovely hair forming a Niagara of gold on your silken pillow. Suddenly I burst into song like a troubadour of old, serenading his loved one. Then your window opened softly, and I got a pitcher of water on my head. Why didn't you tell me you had changed rooms with your old man, sweetheart?
That's ratted, Molly. If you haven't got any more regard for my feelings...
Oh, be quiet, Fibber. What are you crabbing about? That stuff about the Niagara of gold was pretty snappy.
Well, I don't care if it was... Huh? You think it was, huh?
Certainly.
Oh.
Certainly it was. And, baby, I know love letters when I hear them, too.
Really?
Why, sure. I get love letters all the time.
Subtle, ain't he, folks? The Army deferred him when they heard the flat-footed way he gets into these things. Go ahead, Wilcox.
Well, listen to this. It's from a lady in St. Louis. Dear Mr. Wilcox, you've brought joy and happiness into the lives of us housewives. Learning about Johnson's self-polishing glow coat has given us time for movies and beauty parlors and bridge parties. We love you for showing us how to protect our linoleum against wear and tear with none of the old-fashioned scrubbing and rubbing and buffing.
Oh.
The work that used to take us hours, we can now do in 20 minutes or less. So with love to you and Johnson's self-polishing glow coat, I am sending you a little token of affection. Wear it always next to your heart. Devotedly yours, Mrs. Well, never mind her name. Now that's a love letter that is a love letter.
Oh, what did she send you, Mr. Wilcox? A lock of her hair?
No, this. A tiny little corner of her linoleum. Isn't it beautiful?
Oh, stop kissing it, you big ninny.
Well, when you use Glow Coat, you can afford to wear your heart on your sleeve, pal. It makes work so easy you don't have to roll them up. So long now.
My. Mr. Wilcox never loses his enthusiasm, does he?
The only way Wilcox could lose his enthusiasm is for somebody to lose Wilcox. If anybody'd make me a decent...
Oh, McGee, now we got to get busy. Did you get all that junk carried out?
Yes, I did. While you were daydreaming over them slushy little missiles of mine.
No, you don't mean missiles. You mean missives.
I do not. Missive means big, oversized.
No. That's massive.
I thought a massive was the guy that gave you a massage.
Nah, that's a masseur.
Masseur is Mr. in French.
That's Monsieur.
Well, then what's a missile?
A missile is something you throw.
That's what I say. Throw them letters out. I ain't going to stand around here and have everybody snickering at me. I'm just...
McGee,
Huh?
calm yourself and call the junk man to haul away that rubbish.
Okay, give me the phone.
Here.
Thanks. Hello, operator. Give me the wistful Vista Junkyard at 14th and... Oh, is that you, Mert?
Every year the same thing.
How's every little thing, Mert? Says, eh? What's say, Mert? Your little brother. Say what? Cut off his feet.
Oh, McGee, how awful.
Oh, it was nothing. Her kid brother wanted to build a fire without matches at the Boy Scout show. It was quite a feat, but they didn't have time for it. What's say, Mert? Oh, I'll call him later. Yeah, so long. Huh? What's say, Mert? Your little sister. She what?
McGee, please, not another.
Oh. Okay. Tell me next week, Mert. Can't get the junk man on the phone, Molly.
Why not?
The junk man cut the wire down.
What for?
Junk. Hey, quit reading them letters, Molly. You promised me... Who's that?
Let me see. Oh, it's Mrs. Uppington.
Surely you don't mean Mrs. Abigail Uppington, the prominent, in certain places, society leader.
In the flesh. In the well-massaged, expensively corseted, slightly flabby flesh. Come in, Mrs. Flesh. Or Mrs. Uppington. How do you do, Mrs. Uppington? My, this is a surprise.
How do you do, Mr. McGee? And Mr. McGee?
Hi, Fabby. What cosmic upheaval has lured you out of your perfumed bower?
Oh, it's Fifi. Fifi is lost.
Oh, heavenly days, your Pekingese?
Yes, my darling little Fifi. My baby. Oh, I'm so upset, really.
Oh, well, calm yourself, Uppy. Where was the little perp seen last?
Then how was she dressed, Abigail?
She was last seen down the middle of the block, and she had on her best rhinestone collar, her Saks Fifth Avenue sweater, and her little I. Miller booties.
Don't that make you sick, Molly? I mean, to think of Fifi being lost.
Yes, and better dressed than I am, too.
Now, please, my dear, no levity. I am horribly perturbed.
Why don't you advertise for her, Uppy?
Oh, it wouldn't do the slightest good, Mr. McGee. Fifi can't read.
Well, have you searched the neighborhood, Abigail?
Oh, yes, my butler Witherspoon spent the entire afternoon searching for her, going round and round the block calling Fifi, Fifi, Fifi.
With what results?
With the result that he was soundly trounced by a brutal truck driver at whom he happened to be looking when he last called Fifi.
Well, don't worry about her, Abigail. She probably eloped with some traveling Airedale.
Don't be ridiculous, Mr. McGee. Fifi would have nothing to do with other dogs. Why, she was almost as human as I.
Well, now that golden opportunity has slipped past, let's drop it.
Well, let's discuss something more amusing. Now, look at these old love letters of mine, Abigail. I found them in the attic. Shall I read you a couple of them?
No.
Oh, my dear, please do anything to get my mind off poor little Fifi.
Oh, I don't know why you're worrying about that mud, Uppy.
Oh.
Personally, I've always considered Fifi the kind of a dog that shouldn't happen to anybody.
Oh.
Yes, forget your grief for a minute, Abigail. I want to read you one of these letters.
No, Molly, please. Them letters are sacred between me and you.
Oh, don't be so fussy, dearie.
Oh.
Listen to this one, Mrs. Uppington. Oh, darling Molly Cuddle, when you refused to kiss me after the basketball game tonight, you broke my heart into tiny fragments. And, sweetheart, there aren't many cures for a broken heart.
Oh, good heavens. Many cures.
What's the matter, Uppy?
Manicures. Oh, I just remembered.
Huh?
I forgot and left Fifi at the beauty parlor getting a Marcel and a manicure. Oh, the dear little thing. Why, the little precious must be almost suffocated under that horrible dryer. Oh, Mag, do excuse me. Oh, Mother's coming, Fifi. Mother's coming.
Father Tilton sings Bayou, Bayou.
Bayou, Bayou, the Louisiana lullaby. It's sweet and low. You sing it as you rock a by. Bayou, Bayou, the Louisiana lullaby. It's blue, I know. It makes the weeping willow cry each night by the light of the moonbeam. I can hear it calling softly. It seems to whisper, come back with your June dreams. Southland's waiting. Dixie wants me. Bayou, Bayou, I wish I hadn't said goodbye. I love it so, the Louisiana lullaby. Each night by the light of the moonbeam, I can hear it calling softly. Southland's calling, Dixie's waiting. Bayou, Bayou, I wish I hadn't said goodbye. I love it so. It's the Louisiana lullaby. Bayou.
Molly. Hey, Molly. Mrs. McGee.
Yes, you speaking to me, dearie?
Speaking. I was yelling so loud my thorax will be sore for 7 days.
Well, I'm sorry. I was so interested in these letters I didn't hear you.
You know, Molly, I got thinking, maybe I was wrong about those letters. They're not so bad. They're kind of poetic.
Oh, they're pretty drippy, McGee. You were absolutely right about destroying them.
No, now, wait a minute, Molly. After thinking it over, after all, you can... Hey, what you going to do?
I'm going to throw them out the window onto the trash pile.
No.
There.
Oh, gee, Molly, I don't think you should have done that.
Well, you were the one that wanted me to throw them out.
Yeah, but after thinking it over and hearing you read them, I know it...
Come in.
Oh, hello there, folks. I do hope I'm not intruding.
Hi, Wimple, old man.
Of course you're not intruding, Mr. Wimple. We were just cleaning out some old rubbish. Old love letters and things.
Oh, I could imagine a man writing a love letter to you, Mrs. McGee. But my wife, she'd never stand for such nonsense.
Ah, come, Mr. Wimple. Every woman has a streak of sentiment down in her heart someplace.
Not if she hasn't got a heart down in her someplace.
Your bitter half sounds like a pretty chilly character, Wimple.
Oh, she's really a wonderful woman, Mr. McGee. And she's a great help to me when I'm writing verses for greeting cards.
She is, really.
Yes, indeedy. Lots of times when I'm sitting there beating my brains out for a rhyme, she comes in and helps me.
I think I've met your wife someplace, Wimple.
Could it have been on Halloween, riding a broom?
Don't you ever lose your temper with her, Mr. Wimple?
Oh, I've learned to control myself, Mrs. McGee. Yoga, you know.
Yoga? How does it work, Wimple?
Oh, just sitting still and concentrating, preferably in solitude, Mr. McGee.
Oh.
I just sit for hours and hours imagining that my soul is free. Sometimes I sit cross-legged all day long, locked in a little room under our front stairs.
Well, what's the result?
The result is that eventually my wife unlocks the door and I apologize and then she lets me out. Well, goodbye now. Don't come over to our house sometime. You'd hate it.
Poor Mr. Wimple. You know, he's a little martyr, isn't he?
Yeah, but he wouldn't be a little martyr if he was a little smarter. Hey, Molly, can I have some root beer now?
Oh, wait a few minutes, dearie. Let's finish our work first. Now, let's see. If you'll take the rugs out and beat them. Oh, dear. Come in.
How do you do? Is Moonbeam here?
Who, Bud?
Moonbeam, otherwise known as Gorgeous Girl, my Peoria Prairie Flower, Sugar Bun, and Gypsy Sweetheart.
What on earth is this man... Oh, those letters.
You mean even he knows about them letters of mine?
Ah, you must be the captain of the Dreamboat.
Oh,
Alias Tootsie. Alias A Million Kisses from You Know and Desperate. Allow me, Tootsie, to return your letters.
And where did you get these letters, sir?
Madam, I assure you that I have committed no offense against the postal regulations. I am not a mailbox marauder by nature. I was examining the house next door with a view towards renting it, and passing by your window, I was suddenly struck on the fedora by an avalanche of Billy Doo. And if Billy should do it again, I should be tempted to cram them down his sentimental gullet. Here, Dreamboat. Good day, Moonbeam.
The nerve of that guy. He read them.
All right, dearie. Let me take them.
Here, hey, what you going to do with them?
I'm going to burn them. Give me a minute.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Molly. Let's not be hasty.
What do you mean?
Well, in spite of my embarrassment, everybody that's read any of those letters, they thought they were pretty good, so I've been thinking maybe I could sell them to a magazine or some book publisher. Maybe they wouldn't be worth much, but it'd be something.
You'll never publish my love letters, McGee. No, sir. I promised I'd burn them up, and I'm going to.
Oh, Molly, please. Don't do that. You haven't got any right to.
Oh, yes, I have, dearie. They were mine.
Well, I wrote them, didn't I?
No.
What?
These letters were for Motus Cadwallader.
Hey, Moonbeam.
Yes, Dreamboat.
Can I have some root beer now?
Say, have you seen the new autographed picture of Fibber and Molly that dealers are now offering free? It's really great. An entirely new photograph of Fibber and Molly, and it contains pictures of the cast, too. How can you get one of these pictures for yourself? Listen. All you have to do is buy Johnson's Wax, Johnson's Glow Coat, or any Johnson's Wax polish in pint or pound size or larger. Your dealer will give you the autographed picture free. But I must warn you that his supply is strictly limited. When they're gone, there won't be any more. So see your dealer right away. Buy Johnson's Wax, Johnson's Glow Coat, or any Johnson's Wax polish in pint or pound size or larger, and while they last, you'll receive this handsome autographed picture free.
I'm sure glad you threw them letters out, Molly. You don't feel any bad effects from them, do you?
You mean, do I feel like crying?
No, I mean, did you catch cold? You know, wading through all that slush?
Now, McGee, you're just jealous of Otis Cadwallader. You know, he was a very nice boy and a wonderful dancer.
Oh, sure, he was a wonderful dancer. He had to learn to dance.
Why did he?
The fellas down at the pool room gave him the hot foot so often.
McGee.
Good night.
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox, speaking for the makers of Johnson's Wax Finishes for Home and Industry, inviting you to be with us again next Tuesday night, and reminding you that America's first line of defense is you and your support. So invest to the best of your ability in defense saving bonds. Good night.
HOJO Radio. We're your old-time radio headquarters. Stay tuned.
The Johnson Wax Program with Fibber McGee and Molly. The makers of Johnson's Wax and Johnson's Self-Polishing Glow Coat present Fibber McGee and Molly, written by Don Quinn, with songs by Martha Tilton and the King's Men, and music by Billy Mills. The show opens with There's a Great Day Coming Mañana. As a boy, I used to have a lot of fun with electric trains. Even now, whenever I see one spread out on a playroom floor, I can hardly resist the temptation to join the party. I guess that's one of the reasons why I always get a thrill when I see a modern, glittering streamliner whiz by. How would you like the job of washing one of those streamlined beauties, keeping it clean and sparkling? Some job, I should think. And yet, even there, wax can lend a hand, protect those shining surfaces against wear, and make cleaning a much easier job. Yes, sir, at the Johnson's Wax Laboratories, they have actually developed a special wax dressing which can be sprayed or brushed on the outside of these trains. A wax polish, if you please, that makes the job of washing a streamliner relatively easy. It's already being used successfully on the Milwaukee Road's famous Hiawatha. An interesting example of how far the makers of Johnson's Wax have gone in making their wax polishes useful to industry as well as to your home and mine. For your own protection, the next time you're shopping, be sure to get the genuine Johnson's Wax polish. Suppose you had gone to Hollywood and been co-starred in a moving picture, and then the picture was going to have its world premiere next week in your neighborhood theater in your hometown. Just imagine how you'd feel if the picture was Look Who's Laughing. The theater was the Bijou, the town was Wistful Vista, and you were Fibber McGee and Molly.
Isn't it thrilling, McGee?
Yeah.
Imagine us in the movies and having the premiere right here in Wistful Vista.
Well, this town's been good to us, and they deserve it. I'll always remember Wistful Vista, even when I get to be a big screen lover like Henry Fonda and Gary Cooper and Billy Burke.
No, Billy Burke is a woman.
He is? I mean, is she? Oh, well, you know what I mean. I mean, when I get started playing romantic scenes with some of them glamour gals like Jean Hersholt.
No. Jean Hersholt is a man.
Is she? Oh!
Maybe you better do westerns. Nobody will care whether your horse is a boy or a girl.
No, I'm more the romantic type. I'm the kind
Oh, now, take it easy, McGee.
Huh?
Take it easy. Remember, there's only one man who will ever command respect by blowing his own horn.
Who?
Gabriel. Incidentally, did you call the Bijou Theater and reserve a block of seats?
Oh, say, I better do that. Give me the phone.
Here.
Thanks. Hello, operator. Give me the Bijou Theater. Hey, is that you, Mert?
Oh, dear. More dirt from Mert.
How's every little thing, Mert? Says, eh? What's say, Mert? Your sister. Broke her nose, eh? Oh, that's wonderful, Mert.
Oh, heavenly days, McGee. What's wonderful about that?
Her sister made a lot of dough on the stock market, but just how much? Only her broke her nose. Okay, Mert? Oh, okay, I'll call him later. Goodbye, Myrtle. The line's busy, Molly.
Well, we better get busy, too.
Huh?
If we're going to invite Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy to stay with us next week, we've got to straighten up this house. And anyway... Who's that?
I'll peek out and see. Uh-oh. It's Mrs. Uppington. And you ought to see her. She's got on one of them off-the-face hats.
Well, on her it should look good. She's got one of those off-the-hat faces. Come in. Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Uppington? So nice to see you.
How do you do, my dear? And Mr. McGee?
Hi, Uppy. Well, you look in the pink of condition. Though I didn't know conditions were that bad.
Mr. McGee, you mischievous boy.
Yeah, I'm a rip.
Yes. I'm afraid you're always pulling my arm, as the saying goes.
It's leg, as the saying really goes, Abigail.
Yeah.
I know, my dear, but I have always maintained that humor was not necessarily dependent on vulgarity.
No, but it sometimes helps. Hey, what you got there, Uppy? Been doing some Christmas shopping?
Christmas shopping? Oh, my, I almost forgot. Here, this is for you.
For us? Oh, Abigail, you shouldn't have done it.
How do you know she shouldn't have, Molly? What is it, Uppy?
You may unwrap it if you wish, Mr. McGee.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, what?
Well, heavenly days.
Oh, a drinking fountain.
A new smoking stand.
Oh.
And streamlined. Why, it's beautiful, Abigail, but why?
Well, my dear, with all those important people coming for the premiere next week, I thought that... Oh, well, I did want your house to look nice. And the one bad note in this room, to me, has always been that ash receiver of Mr. McGee's. So I took the liberty...
Oh, how thoughtful of you, Mrs. Uppington. I'm simply delighted.
Yeah.
And that old smoking stand of McGee's was beginning to smell horribly of cigars.
Well, it's getting hard to find cigars made of gardenias. Defense program, you know. But thanks, Uppy. Gee, it's really beautiful.
Well, the only thing is, it makes your Davenport look very shabby and tired.
Oh,
say, it does at that, McGee.
Huh?
Look at that velour. The nap looks like it just heard the alarm clock.
Well, you could get a new Davenport, you know.
Oh, we might at that, McGee. What do you say?
Well, I don't know, Molly.
Come to think of it, there's a clearance sale at the Bonton, isn't there, Abigail?
Oh, indeed there is, my dear. In fact, I just bought this hat there. Isn't it simply ducky?
It's ducky, all right. It's as foul a hat as I ever...
It's quite all right, Mrs. McGee. After all, one never expects a man to understand a woman's taste in hats.
Say, isn't it the truth, Abigail? And why should he talk? Did you ever see him in that little green Tyrolean hat of his with the yellow feather in the band?
Indeed, I have, my dear. He looks quite dashing.
Oh, dashing, eh?
Yes, dashing home from a dogfight. Touche, Mr. McGee. Touche.
What do you mean, touche? I never wore a touche in my life. I've got as much hair now as I ever had, and what's more...
No, dearie. Not toupee. Touche.
Oh.
That's a French expression meaning, I got you that time, didn't I?
And you are quite right, my dear. Men should never criticize women's clothes.
I should say not. Look at all the silly pockets a man has in his clothes.
Huh?
At least 4 in his trousers, 4 in his vest, and 5 in his coat. 13 pockets.
Yes, and all on account of you women.
Why, what do you mean, Mr.
Well, look,
Reed?
take the 4 in the pants. In the left-hand hip pocket, a wallet to pay for them silly hats. In the right-hand hip for a card case.
Yeah.
So when you use up all our dough, we can identify ourselves and write a check. In the left front, small bills, all we ever have left. In the right hand, small change, on account of you never have 2 bits to tip the girl in the powder room.
Now, just a minute, McGee.
Now, let me get through. Next, the best. In the lower left hand, door keys, on account of it takes a woman 15 minutes to find her own.
Yes, but...
In the lower right hand, watch, so we can check up on how late you always are.
Oh.
Upper left hand, small flashlight to find the gloves you dropped in the movie. In the upper right hand, fountain pen to write the check when we've identified ourselves from the card case in the pants pocket.
Yes, but the coat, Mr.
I'm
McGee...
coming to the coat.
Oh.
First, the inside breast pocket. There's the gas bill you wanted us to mail because you forgot it until today. The outside breast pocket. Handkerchief for you to cry in at the movie where you dropped your gloves. On the lower left side, compact and lipstick where you ain't got room for them in on account of your purse. And the lower right side, empty, so you can tuck your hand in and get it warm on account of you lost your gloves in the movies. Ah, toupee, girls, toupee.
The King's Men sing Louisiana Hayride.
I'd like to be again a kid on the farm again, working till the sun goes down. Get out the wagon, pile in the hay, gather all the folks for miles around them. Get going, Louisiana hayride. Get going, we all is ready. Get going, Louisiana hayride. Get up and start to roll. Get going, Louisiana hayride. Get going, we all is ready. Get going, Louisiana hayride. Get up and start to roll. Oh, I like that sport, riding in the hay, loving it away. Oh, 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 the time is short. Crack your little whip and get your little ship to go. Get all aboard, take a little ride. Moon is shining bright. Pile in the hay, sing and play. We'll take a ride tonight. Giddy up, Nellie.
Henry, call the roll.
Yes, sir. Maybelle, Emmeline.
We's here.
Sally, Isabel.
We's here. Mortimer, Ferdinand.
We is here.
Jeremiah, Franklin.
We is here. Clementina, Carolina, Evelina, Dinah. We's all here in the evening by the moonlight. You can hear the darkies singing as we ride in the evening by the moonlight on the Louisiana hayride. The night is bright, bright as day. By and by our heads will nod, silently back home we'll plod. Whoa, Nellie, whoa. How it looked to be again, a boy to go and see again, the yellow moon to blow again, sing the gal and go again, hey, riding in the hay.
Well, boy.
Well, how about it, McGee? Shall we go downtown and buy a new Davenport, or shan't we?
Oh, I suppose we better. Oh, we'll never get as good a one as this one has been.
Yeah, you'll never save that many cigar coupons again, either.
You said it, baby. I practically inhaled all the furniture in this room.
Well, I wish you'd have taken a few extra puffs and got a better-looking floor lamp.
What's the matter with the floor lamp?
Well, the cord's all frayed, for one thing. I've told you a dozen times to run the wire under the rug.
Doggone it, I tried to, and darn near smothered under there.
Well, never mind that. Now, get your hat and let's get going. With this clearance sale, we ought to get a nice Davenport.
Oh, come in.
Hi, mister.
Oh, hi, little girl. I'm sorry I haven't got time to talk to you now. I got to go downtown.
Why?
Got to buy a new Davenport.
Why?
Well, because we're expecting some important guests next week.
Why?
Because they're holding the world premiere of our picture at the Bijou Theater next week, that's why. And stop asking why. I says stop. No. Sis, you're impossible.
I am not, I betcha.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, no, I can't be impossible, I betcha.
Why?
Because impossible means it couldn't happen, and I happen.
Why?
And stop saying why.
Okay. All I can say, sis, is you've certainly got a gift for butting in here whenever we're ready to go someplace.
Gee, have I, mister? What is it?
What's what?
My gift.
I didn't say you had a gift.
You did, too. I heard you just as plain.
Well, I didn't mean it that way. I meant it.
Engine giver, engine giver, engine giver.
That's it, sis. Keep quiet. I'll give you a gift. I'll do anything. But quit yelling at me. Now, what do you want?
Tell me a story.
Gee. Sis, you mean to stand there with your first teeth making a last stand? And ask for a story when you know darn well we're in a hurry to get downtown?
Gee, mister, I guess you don't love little children.
Yes, I do too love little children. Don't you love big men?
Gee, sure I do, mister. You want me to tell you a story? Do you?
Oh, I'd much prefer that. Go ahead.
Okay. Once upon a time, there was a little Boston Bull Terrier, and some bad boys tried to tie a tin can on him, but they couldn't do it.
Well, go on with the story.
That's all. It was a very short tale.
Very likely tale. If that little twerp ever...
McGee, never mind that. We got to get down to the furniture store. It's getting late.
Oh, it is. Okay, well, come on, let's go.
Mrs. McGee, I assure you that this is definitely the Davenport for you.
All right, Mr. Twomley. Send it right out.
Very well. Now that you have this lovely new Davenport, don't you think the rest of your furniture might look just a teeny weeny bit lousy?
Now, wait a minute, Twom. You can't stand there...
He's right, McGee. Absolutely right. With all our old stuff, that new Davenport will be as conspicuous as a cow in a canoe.
Indeed it will, madam. Whereas it should be as casual as a hug on a hayride.
Oh. Well, what are we going to do about it? Move everything out but the Davenport and just let the guests in 3 at a time?
No, but we've got to have new draperies and a couple of end tables, and that bookcase is pretty battered. And the floor lamp isn't much good.
What kind of a floor lamp is it?
Oh, it's one of them 3-way lights, Bud. It goes out if you bump it, touch it, or look at it. Well, maybe you're right, Molly.
Why, of course I'm right, McGee. Next week is one of the most important occasions in our lives. And with some new furniture, why, we...
Hello, Molly. Hello, Fibber.
Hello, Harlow.
Oh, what's the matter with you, Mr. Wilcox?
You look like someone that stripped the gears on your kitty car, Si.
Oh, it's nothing. Forget it. I just met Billy Mills down the piano department, and he offered me tickets to a football game, and I lost my temper, that's all.
Oh. Heavenly days, why?
Well, I just dislike football, that's all. I despise it. I hate football.
I don't understand, Mr. Wilcox. Why should you have such an aversion to the thrilling spectacle of 11 muscular gentlemen kicking the teeth out of 11 other muscular gentlemen?
Well, I'll tell you what my aversion is. How could I, a guy making his living selling genuine Johnson's self-polishing glow coat, the finest, no rubbing, no buffing floor polish, how could I ever enjoy a game that depends on substitutes? Always sending in substitutes. It burns me up.
Oh, but Mr. Wilcox, you could watch the practice games. Maybe a good scrub team would...
Listen to her. Scrub team. Don't say scrub to me. With Johnson's self-polishing glow coat making your kitchen linoleum so easy to keep clean and beautiful without old-fashioned scrub... Oh, I can't stand it. Let me out of here. Scrub team. Substitutes. Football. Oh!
Temperamental fellow, isn't he?
Oh, he takes his work very seriously, Mr. Twomley.
Yeah, he's almost too conscientious. That guy won't even send the Home Office a night letter unless it's a nice night. Well, what am I waiting for? Or what are we waiting for?
Where are the draperies, Mr. Twomley?
Oh, yes, the draperies. Right down the stairs. Over here, Mrs. McGee.
Well, I think these draperies will do us very nicely, Mr. Twomley.
Yes, I think you've done us very nicely, too, Twombly.
Oh, thank you. And now for some of the smaller pieces, Mrs. McGee.
What do you mean, smaller pieces? Ain't we bought enough stuff?
Now, McGee, be reasonable.
Huh?
With the new Davenport and new draperies, we can't have that other tacky-looking furniture spoiling the effect.
You mean just because we get a new ashtray, we got to refurnish the whole house to go with it? Why don't I just give up smoking?
For good?
Well, why not?
You can't do it.
I can, too. I've done it a dozen times. Why, I remember that...
Oh, excuse me a moment. Some gentleman is trying to catch my attention. Was there something I could do for you, sir?
No, my dapper dispenser of domestic doodads. There's nothing you can do for me, but I'm about to do something for you. One of those charitable impulses to which I rarely become a victim.
Hey, Molly, it's Horatio K. Boomer. Hiya, Boomer.
Hello, Mr. Boomer. We haven't seen you for a long time.
Ah, there. Good day, my dear. A nasty November to you, soybean.
Where you been keeping yourself, Boomer?
Haven't been keeping myself, egg roll. I've been kept. Been detained for a few months upstate on a charge of loitering.
Oh, loitering. Why, they can't sentence you for several months just for loitering.
They can if you're loitering in the First National Bank after closing hours, my dear.
Well, what were you doing in there after hours?
Just trying to straighten out a check, stub.
But what was it you wished to see me about, sir?
Oh, yes. Thought you might like to know I saw a shoplifter upstairs.
Oh.
On the 4th floor in the West Wing. Suggest you investigate.
Heavenly days, a shoplifter. Are you sure, Mr. Boomer?
Certainly, certainly. I should know a shoplifter when I see one.
No, I'll say you should, Boomer. You've seen so much of the seamy side of life, you got lint in your outlook.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Boomer. I'll report the matter very shortly. We don't like shoplifters in here.
Glad to be of service, my boy. Remember, 4th floor, West Wing. Saw the fellow several times with my own eyes. Well, good day, my dear. A superficial so long to you, simp.
So long, Boomer.
Well, imagine Mr. Boomer meeting a shoplifter face to face.
Incidentally, what do they sell in the west wing of the 4th floor, Bud?
Looking glasses and mirrors.
Oh.
Now, let's see. What other furnishings did you have in mind, Mrs. McGee?
Martha Tilton sings Blue Champagne.
Blue champagne, purple shadows and blue champagne, with the echoes that still remain. I keep a blue rendezvous. Bubbles rise like a fountain before my eyes, and they suddenly crystallize to form a vision of you. All the plans we started, all the songs we sang, each little dream we knew seems to overtake me like a boomerang. Blue is the sparkle, gone is the tang. Each old refrain keeps returning as I remain with my memories and blue champagne to toast the dream that was you. All the plans we started, all the songs we sang, each little dream we knew seems to overtake me like a boomerang. Blue is the sparkle, gone is the tang. Each old refrain keeps returning as I remain with my memories and blue champagne to toast the dream that was
Fine, boys, but please move that bookcase farther to the right there.
Careful, fellas. Don't scratch my new ashtray.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, lady.
Well, how does it look, McGee?
I gotta admit...
Everything in its place already.
Yeah, looks pretty good, Molly. Especially the ashtray. You know, if it hadn't been for Mrs. Uppington, we'd have never refurnished this room. Bless her heart. I wish she had to pay the bill, darn her hide.
Now, don't talk like that, dearie. This room is really livable now.
The only thing I don't like is this new rug, Molly.
It's a beautiful rug. A genuine Oriental.
The tag says it was made by the Weave a Million Rug Company in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Absolutely. I always say if you buy an Oriental rug, get one made by honest American labor. Come in.
Hello there, Mrs. McGee. Hello, Mr. McGee.
Oh, hi, Wimple, old man. Come in and curl your corpus up on our new Davenport.
Well, how are you today, Mr. Wimple?
Oh, just fine, Mrs. McGee. I saw the men moving your new furniture in, so I just sat right down on the curbstone and wrote you a poem.
Oh, how nice.
I'll reserve judgment till I hear your living room lyrics, Wimp.
I think it's one of my best pieces, Mr. McGee. I really do. The title is, The End Table Broke Its Leg and We Had to Shoot It Back to the Factory.
Well, read it in your well-modulated voice, Mr. Wimple.
All righty. It goes, Here's to the McGees in their well-furnished home. I hope they'll be happy, this princess and prince.
Prince don't rhyme, Wimple.
I know, Mr. McGee, but I don't like to call you a gnome. They have only one piece which the room could well lack. That new straight-back chair should be sent right straight back. Do you like it?
What, the chair or the phone?
I think it was very sweet of you, Mr. Wimple. Do you often sit down on curbstones and write poetry?
Oh, we poets must work wherever the mood strikes us, Mr. McGee. Some of my best work I do while I'm, well, almost anywhere in the house. Except in my wife's gymnasium. I can't work there.
See, your wife is very athletic, isn't she, Mr. Wimple?
Indeed she is, Mrs. McGee. She can put the shot 99 yards, you know.
Honest? You go in for any of that stuff, Wimple?
Only the 100-yard dash, Mr.
Well, hasn't Mrs. Wimple any feminine qualities, Mr. Wimple?
Oh, yes, Mrs. McGee, of course. She's really a very feminine person. You should see men leap up to give her their seats on the streetcar.
Do they really?
Indeed they do. Or else. Well, I just dropped in to say hello, folks. So, goodbye.
Poor little Wimple. He sure has it tough, don't he?
I'll bet the worm will turn someday, McGee.
Yep. Just in time to see the hen's last peck. Oh, well, let's forget Wimple. Let's just sit here and enjoy my new ashtray and stuff.
Oh, isn't this room beautiful now?
Yeah, my new ashtray sure sets it off, don't it? Ah, good old Uppy.
Oh, and isn't this Davenport comfortable?
Yeah, I'll bet my hip will heal up now where that spring always dug into it.
I wouldn't be surprised. Just look how the pattern in those draperies harmonizes.
Oh, now who? Come in.
Oh, hello, Mrs. Uppington. Come in and see what you're responsible for.
What I'm responsible... Oh, my dear. Oh, it's lovely. All new furniture and draperies. And a rug. Oh, how lovely.
You like it, Uppy?
It's simply charming, Mr. McGee. If I had done it myself, I wouldn't change a thing. Not a single thing. Except possibly...
Except what?
That smoking stand. It's a little modernistic for the room, wouldn't you say?
The smoking stand? But, Dad, the whole room was refurnished around that smoking stand, and I love it.
And you gave it to us.
Oh, yes, I know, but since you have redecorated, it is entirely out of key.
Oh.
Now, here, I'll show you.
No.
Let's throw it out.
No.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
There now. Isn't that better? Now the room is utterly charming. Oh, I don't know what gave you the idea to do it over, but it was a splendid idea. Good night.
Take it easy, dearie. Control yourself. Have a cigar.
I can't. There's no place to put the ashes.
Forget the ashes. Light up a cigar. And give me one, too.
The other day, I went shopping with my wife. As we wandered through the stores from one department to another, I was struck with one thing which seems to me to be quite important. Good taste is on the increase. Manufacturers of clothes, furniture, fabrics, floor coverings, all have been constantly improving the design of their merchandise. You don't have to have a lot of money now to have a beautiful, attractive home, and you don't need a lot of money to keep it beautiful either. You can do that so easily with genuine Johnson's wax, the wax polish that protects as well as beautifies your floors, furniture, woodwork, that saves you money and saves you work, that has over 100 extra labor-saving uses. There are, of course, imitations of Johnson's wax on the market, but if I were you, I'd play safe and insist on the genuine Johnson's wax, liquid, cream, or paste.
Are Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy really going to visit us next week?
Sure they are.
Positively?
Absolutely.
How can you be sure?
Because Charlie McCarthy promised me on bended knee.
Who's bended knee?
Bergen's.
Oh.
Good night.
Good night, all.
This is Harlow Wilcox, speaking for the makers of Johnson's Wax Finishes for home and industry, inviting you to be with us again next Tuesday night. Good night.
Our next broadcast is a science fiction drama series that was broadcast from April 24th, 1955 to January 9th, 1958 in various time slots on NBC. Known for its high production values and adapting stories from the leading American authors of the era, it has been described as one of the finest offerings of American radio drama and one of the best science fiction series in any form and medium. We present to you X-1 on HOJO Radio.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents X-1. Tonight's story, Ray Bradbury's Dwellers in Silence. "20 years had passed. 20 years since the last of the giant migration ships had crashed to the surface of Mars, bearing its pitiful handful of survivors of the Earth Wars. 20 years of longing, of turning eyes toward the green Earth as it hung on the horizon like a beckoning light. And now it was done. and the first new ship, built of shining Martian chromaton, had lifted bravely toward home with 3 men locked in its metal belly.
There it is. You can barely see the top of the Atomic Trades building in the twilight. A never-finished building.
Captain.
What is it?
Am I going out of my mind? Look, out that way, to the west.
Could that be? Heaven, it is. Those are lights. Turn the ship. Full cruising speed.
They are lights. Captain, it's a city, a whole blasted city lit up like a Christmas tree. What do you think of your dead planet now, Williams?
Decelerate to -5. We're going to take her down.
Unbelievable. We've been walking for hours now and not a soul to be seen.
There must be someone. How do you explain the light?
Unless they've been burning like this for 20 years.
Impossible.
I don't know.
Municipal building. Do we have a look here, sir? Possibly the records might contain some.
That's a good idea. Keep your weapons ready. We'll start right here with the city clerk's office. Better check radiation again, Doctor.
Well, not enough to do any damage.
Gives you the creeps, doesn't it? Look at this desk. Papers crumpled, inkstand, just as if somebody came in and worked here every day. Dog licenses, hunting permits.
That's strange. There's ink in that inkstand.
Well, what of it?
Well, you'd think standing open for 20 years it would have dried up. Good heavens.
If I hadn't heard it with my own ears. Evans, did that phone ring?
Yes. Well?
Pick it up, Doctor.
Hello?
Good day, Doctor. How are you? I called to ask some advice about a trepanning problem. Can you tell me if the lateral cut should be made first?
Hello. Hello. This is absolutely insane. Hello.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll do that. By the way, how is your wife, Alice? And the girls? And your son, John? Fine boy, John. I'll call again tomorrow. Goodbye, Doctor.
Hello. Hello. Gone dead.
Who was it?
I don't know. Strange voice carried on a conversation about some surgical operation without paying the slightest attention to anything I said. Captain.
What is it?
Listen. Someone is coming, walking slowly toward the corridor.
Coming closer.
Jumping Jupiter. It's a man. An old man.
You... Is it really someone? You seem to be real. I saw the ship come down, and I thought perhaps I was losing my mind. It's been so many years.
I'm Captain John Parsons. These are my assistants, Dr. Evans and Mr. Williams. We returned to Earth from Mars.
Then it's happened. We're not alone anymore. Forgive me, gentlemen, if I seem moved. I've waited and hoped for so long.
You survived the radiation.
We did.
There are others.
My family. We are the only ones.
I answered the phone a moment ago. Who was it?
You heard my voice, Doctor.
Yours?
Yes. To break the loneliness. I've recorded my voice and rigged up an automatic telephone. It's pleasant to hear the phone ring. I come here to work.
I take it you are a medical man.
My name is Cornelius Hathaway.
Hathaway? Hathaway, the brain surgeon?
You know my name?
Who doesn't? I watched you on television at college. Why, I saw you 23 years ago. You performed a difficult surgery for a cerebral tumor.
Thank you. I'd almost forgotten. My mind, you see, I'm almost 80 now.
Well, you look fine, sir.
We've had the best of everything. An entire city to choose from. Cold storage, the best equipment. But come. There's a fine dinner waiting for you, and you want to meet my family. When I saw the ship come down, I told Alice, my wife, you know, to prepare a feast. This is a great day for me, gentlemen. A great day. Alice, come out to the porch and see who we have here. Alice, you here? Come out. My wife, gentlemen. Alice, Captain Parsons, Dr. Evans, Mr. Williams.
How do you do, Hathaway?
How do you do?
And now, if you will follow me in, gentlemen, we'll meet my children.
Lord, what a beautiful woman.
She looks no more than 35.
Do you suppose the radiation could have done that to her?
I don't know.
And these are my daughters, Susan and Marguerite, and my son, John.
How do you do? How do you do, sir?
Sit down, gentlemen, sit down. We'll have a feast in honor of this occasion. Susan, Marguerite, get the best silverware and the damask napkins. And John, fetch the champagne.
Yes, Father.
Excuse me a moment, John.
Sir?
How old are you?
23, sir.
Thank you.
What is it, Captain? Something wrong?
Nothing. Except that it's impossible. You see, Dr. Hathaway's son was already in college when I started. That would make him at least 45. That was a wonderful meal, Mrs. Hathaway. Doctor, your wife is an exceptional woman.
Thank you, sir.
How would you gentlemen like some fresh gingerbread with your coffee? I've baked it this morning.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Smell that, Doctor?
It's like coming home, Mrs. Hathaway.
It's like home having you here.
Mrs. Hathaway, may I compliment you on having preserved your youth and beauty so well?
Thank you. We have no worries here. No competition. All the things we need for material comfort.
Parsons and I were wondering, Dr. Hathaway, if the radioactivity had any effect in preserving tissue. Your children all look so young, too.
It is possible, gentlemen, of course. Radiation does strange things to living tissue. Alice, could we have some champagne? Alice.
Oh, I'm sorry. What, John?
Some champagne, please.
Champagne? Oh, yes, of course.
An amazing woman. Did you ever see such grace, such complete relaxation?
It doesn't seem quite natural.
I beg your pardon, gentlemen?
Captain Parsons was just about to ask how you and your family managed to escape, Dr. Hathaway.
We were very fortunate. You see, my home was in the Sierra Mountains at the time. I had a lead-lined laboratory in the basement where I did X-ray research. My hobby, you know. I chose this house because it was on a hill where I could watch the sky. Oh, the loneliness of those first years.
But at least you had your wife and children.
Yes, I had my family. If it were not for them, gentlemen, I assure you I would long ago have put a bullet in my head.
Champagne, Captain?
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Hathaway. May I propose a toast?
Oh, let me. Gentlemen, to Earth.
To Earth?
Earth. May she never be stranger to man. And...
Hathaway, what is it? You all right?
It's nothing. It's nothing, really. Just a rather sharp pain in the chest. Why don't you gentlemen go out on the porch and enjoy the air? You've had a long and tiring journey. Alice, we'll show you the way.
Will you be all right, John?
Yes, don't trouble yourself. I'll see you all in the morning.
Good night, Doctor.
Good night. Come, John.
Yes, Father.
Well, what do you think of old Mother Earth now, Williams? Smell that summer breeze. And look at that view of the city, lighted up against the sky.
It has a certain quality. Well, score 1 point for the back to Earth proponents. I didn't say that.
You're beginning to feel it, though, Williams, I can tell.
If you don't mind, gentlemen, I'm quite tired. I think I'll turn in. Excuse me? Well, Captain?
Well, what?
What do you make of all this?
I don't know what you mean.
This Hathaway and his family. There's something strange and unnatural going on here. I can sense it.
Oh, I think you're reading things into it, Doctor.
Perhaps. Well, I'll turn in, too. Coming?
In a moment. I want to smoke a cigarette.
It's a very beautiful view, is it not?
Oh, I didn't hear you come out. How is he?
Resting. I've never seen him this bad.
Yes, he's an old man. I'm sorry, but the difference in your ages is so apparent. You must have been married very young.
You don't know about us, then?
No.
Perhaps it is better that way.
I don't follow you. Is it something about your husband? He acts very strangely.
My husband is a very great man, Captain. It is too bad there was no one to appreciate him. Once he wired the whole city with sound speakers. And when he pressed a button, the whole town lit up and made noises as if 10,000 people were living in it.
He must have been very lonesome. Although, with a woman such as you, I don't understand.
Perhaps one day you will understand.
I hope you will come to trust me as a friend.
I can trust no one but him. Good night, Captain.
Good night, Mrs. Hathaway.
Captain. Captain Parsons.
What is it? Who's there?
Dr. Evans.
Oh, what's wrong? What time is it anyway?
2 a.m.
What's wrong?
I couldn't sleep. A few minutes ago, I heard someone slip out the front door. In the moonlight, I saw it was the old man. He was headed toward the ship.
What are you suggesting, Doctor?
Nothing, except that it's fairly unnatural for an old man with a bad heart to go wandering off at 2 in the morning.
Very well. We'll follow him. This is far enough.
What do you suppose he's doing? What are those on the ground?
Good Lord, those are grave markers. 4 of them.
You're right. He seems to be praying over them.
Listen.
Do you forgive me for what I had done? I had to do it. I was so lonely, so terribly lonely. You don't mind too much? You do forgive me, don't you? Yes. Yes, I feel you do. Well, I'm glad. I think perhaps I can rest now. I think
He's having another attack. Come on. Hathaway. Dr. Hathaway, can you hear me? Raise his head, Evans. Dr. Hathaway.
His lips are moving.
What is it, Doctor?
Closer. Lean closer. I'm sorry I had to spoil all of this. I've expected it for some time.
We'll fix you up.
No, I'm an excellent diagnostician. It really doesn't matter. Except for them.
What about them, Hathaway?
You suspected, didn't you?
Yes, I suspected. But I couldn't believe it until now. Do they know?
No, they wouldn't understand. I wouldn't want them to know. Ever.
Doctor?
He's dead, Captain. What was it he meant about your suspecting?
Light a match, Dr. Evans. Look on those 4 grave markers and tell me what you see.
Good heavens.
Well?
Alice Hathaway, Marguerite Hathaway, Susan Hathaway, John Hathaway. Died July 1987. But that's 20 years ago. It's impossible. If these markers are correct, then who are those others?
Can't you guess, Doctor? Can't you guess? I'm sorry, Mrs. Hathaway.
He didn't want us to feel badly. He told us it would happen one day and that he didn't want us to cry. He didn't teach us how, you know. He said it was the worst thing that could happen, to know how to be lonely and unhappy. We weren't to know what death is.
Perhaps it's just as well.
You know about us, don't you?
Yes, I know. I didn't think you knew yourself.
The children don't. I have been aware for a long while.
No one would have guessed. You're so perfect.
He would have liked to hear you say that. He was so very proud of us. After a while, he came to love us, and at the end he took us as his real wife and children. He even forgot, sometimes, that he had made us.
You gave him a great deal of comfort.
Yes. Over the years we sat and talked. He loved so much to talk. I was first, you know. Then he became lonesome for the children, and so he made them. There was only one thing. One flaw.
And that?
He couldn't make us grow old. And so he had to watch himself become an old, old man. while we stayed young. It was a great blow to him.
We'll bury him on the hillside where the other 4 crosses are. I think you would like that.
Yes, he would.
Mrs. Hathaway, Alice, I think that you are a very great and wonderful woman. And so we commend the body of this man, John Hathaway, to his Maker. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust returneth. Amen.
Come, John.
Yes, Mother.
Susan, Marguerite.
Evans, Williams, stay here a moment, please.
What is it?
Let them go back to the house. I want to speak to you.
I know what you're going to tell us, Captain. I saw the names on the grave markers.
Well?
It's a mockery, a blasphemy of everything we believe in. For a man to do something so evil.
Can't you imagine what he faced? Can't you imagine what it must have been like to have watched his wife and children die slowly of radiation burns? To know that he was the last man on the face of the earth, alone, eternally and unalterably alone. Good Lord, man, what would you have done if you'd had his medical and technical genius? I'll tell you, you'd have come back to your laboratory just as he did and tried to recapture all the wonderful things that they had been to you. You'd use all the power of your memory, all the accuracy of your fingers, and you'd try to put together, bit by bit, all those things that were wife, son, and daughter.
It's incredible.
So you suggest that we take them back, Captain?
I don't know. We haven't enough space in the ship for that. Every ounce counts. Still, to leave them here like that, alone...
I think I have an answer, cold-blooded as it may seem.
Go on.
I suggest that we turn them off.
Do you think I could do that?
No, but I think I could. After all, they aren't human. They're worse than robots. They're ghoulish. I suggest you go back to the ship, Captain, and leave me to deal with them.
I will not permit it.
You've no choice in the matter. I assure you it'll be quick and entirely painless.
I hate to admit it, but he's right, Captain. We can't take them with us, and it would be less than human to leave them here without Hathaway. They were created by him for himself. They have no other feelings, no other purpose. If you leave them, they'll go on year after year, night after night, talking, laughing, baking strawberry biscuits for no reason, not knowing who they are, why they exist.
Could you do it, Doctor?
I don't know.
I've already offered to do it.
No, I wouldn't want it to be you, Williams. You're sick. You have no feelings. If Dr. Evans here can do it, well, so be it.
It's a difficult thing, Captain.
Still, as you say, they aren't human. Logic is on your side. It isn't as if you were murdering someone. Well,
give me the blast gun, William.
We'll wait in the ship. Take off in half an hour.
Half an hour.
6:25. He should be back soon.
Yes.
He's doing the only humane thing, Captain. They're less than human.
Are they?
Well, it's done now, and no one will ever... That's the airlock. He's back.
Well, here's your gun.
Did you do it?
When I entered the house, one of the daughters looked up at me, and she smiled. The others smiled. He taught them that, taught them to make him feel welcome when he came home at night. I knew that, and yet... Well, I should have done it then. I might have, but she came in. The wife. She said something about sitting down for a cup of tea. She looked at me with those fine, intelligent eyes. I couldn't do it. It would be murder. Cold-blooded murder.
I prayed you wouldn't be able to do it. There will never be anything as fine as they are, you know. Built to last 100, 200, perhaps 1,000 years. Well, get the course in the integrator, Williams. We'll take off in 20 minutes. I should be back by then.
You're going out, sir?
I'm going to say goodbye.
You've come back.
Only to say goodbye.
It was nice of you.
I wanted you to know that I'm coming back.
Here? To us?
Here, to you.
I believe you.
I never meant anything more.
When will you come?
I don't know. It'll take many years to prepare fuel for another trip. 6, 7, perhaps 10 years.
I will watch the sky at night, just as he watched it.
I'm not a young man.
Time is nothing to me. I was born out of time.
I'm afraid I must go now.
I understand. Strange. I have a new feeling. One which he didn't teach us. A feeling of longing, of sadness.
That one is not taught. It comes of being alive.
Yes, I am alive. Even though he created me, I'm a person now.
Goodbye, Alice Hathaway.
Goodbye, John Parsons.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Dwellers in Silence, written by Ray Bradbury and adapted for radio by George Lefferts. Featured in the cast were Anne Seymour, Carl Weber, Theodore Osborne, Richard Hamilton, Edwin Jerome, and Stan Early. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production. Don't forget, next week, X-1 will be heard on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Keep it tuned right here to HOJO Radio for more classic old-time radio.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million could-be years on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction, presents
X minus 1.
Tonight's story, The Utter Limit, by Graham Dorr. We go ahead now in time to 1965. We're on a vast concrete runway set in the desert of the Southwest. A giant metal ship stands before us, prow pointed for the stars. And in 5 minutes, the signal will flash and it will tear up through the atmosphere to the outer limit.
Attention! Attention! Clear field for takeoff! Clear field!
5 minutes, Steve.
Right. Warm her up, Charlie.
Turn her over! I want to go over procedure again, Steve.
Don't worry, I got it straight.
We'll just make sure.
Okay, I take her up on jets to 50,000, then I cut in the rockets.
No lower, or your tail blast will burn out 3 counties.
I climb 4 minutes on rockets, then start maneuver tests.
Remember that, no more than 4 minutes. This ship isn't like those strato rockets that you've been testing. She's the first one built for outer space. If she works, you can go clear to the moon.
If I'd have known, I'd have brought my toothbrush.
Not this trip. Now get this, Steve. You've got power there to clear the Earth's gravitational field, but remember, after you cut in the rockets, you've only got 10 minutes fuel. If you go beyond the outer limit and don't save fuel for the return, you won't get down again, ever. You'll drift out into space. Get that now. 10 minutes fuel.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, this project is a lot more important than that cosmic ray bomb that they're testing out in the Pacific tonight.
Well, the Security Commission brass doesn't think so. I don't see any undersecretaries under anything.
Don't you worry, Steve. In the long run, our ship will make the CR bomb back-page stuff. But in the meantime, it's just as dangerous. Now, remember, half the principles in this ship are pure theory, slide rule stuff. If anything goes wrong, we may have to scrape you off the landscape with a soup spoon.
You have a charming sense of humor.
Now, here's what I'm getting at, Steve. We're risking your neck in this test. Anything blows, we don't want to have the next man pull the same boner. So keep your mic open. Keep talking. If anything goes wrong, we want to know exactly why. And we won't be able to ask you. Let us know before you pull every switch, before you do anything. Got that? Even if you only have to blow your nose.
All right, get those fuel lines away.
Well, I guess that's about all, Steve.
Hey, that reminds me. If Mary calls, I'm just up on a milk run. I didn't tell her today was it.
How is Mary?
She's okay, but she's due about now, and I don't want her to get nervous.
Hey, I didn't know the baby was that close. Steve, you know, I really ought to be sending a single man on this job.
What, and cut me out of a soft paycheck? Forget it, Hank. You know you can't get anybody else who can take 15 G's acceleration when those rockets cut in.
Yeah, I know. It's time, Steve.
Yeah. I'll see you later. Don't worry, Hank. I'll sweat for both of us. Button her up, Charlie. So long, Hank.
So long. We'll give you the light from control.
X2 JTR to control. Are you there yet, Hank?
Okay, Steve. I'm ready to go.
Mr. Hanson?
Ready on radar, Sergeant?
Check. Mr. Hanson, you better see this.
What is it, Elsie?
Message sent for Steve. Mrs. Weston just left for the hospital.
What? Hello, Steve.
Yeah.
Stand by a minute.
Shall I hold it up, Mr. Hanson?
Yes. No, wait just a minute. It's too late now.
You going to tell him?
Well, maybe he's got enough to worry about.
Hey, what's holding us up, Hank? Something on your mind?
No, there's nothing, Steve. I just wanted to say good luck. All right, Charlie. Give him the light. All right, Steve, I'm reading you clear.
I'm at 20,000. Airspeed 600. It's running fine. Soundproofing works. There's a 3-degree waiver in the AGY pressure.
Got that, Charlie?
Check. Dead center on radar, Mr. Hanson.
50,000 now. I'm cutting loose the port jet. Now the starboard. Now I'm off jets. Airspeed dropping. Now I'm opening the rocket ports. The switch sticks a little, Charlie. Oxy-alcohol pressure 350. All right, now I'm advancing the ignition key. Here goes rocket 1.
Steve, you all right?
Yeah. Feels like somebody slugged me with a sledgehammer. Airspeed now 1,200. Here goes number 2. She's okay, Hank. Running like a Swiss watch. She's okay.
Hello, Steve. Elapsed rocket's time is now 4 minutes. What's your altitude? Over to you.
Speed 4,400, still climbing. Altitude 297 miles.
All right, you're at the outer limit. Level off for maneuver tests. You've got exactly 6 minutes fuel left.
I'm starting a 3-degree left bank. She's a little sluggish. There, it's all right. There's a low vibration somewhere. Maybe the cockpit cover. My view screen's a little fogged. Now I'm straightening out.
5 minutes fuel left.
Now I'm starting a 3-degree right. Hey, of all the...
What's the matter? What's wrong?
There's something up here. Something shining.
What are you talking about?
There's something above me, Hank. I'm going to chase it.
Steve, you're at the outer limit now.
I can see it plain now.
Now, Steve, don't go any higher. You've only got 4 minutes left. You've only got...
I'm getting static. I can't hear you, Hank. It's dead ahead now. I'm going to make a pass at it and get a good look. Here goes. Hey, it's swerving to meet me. It's dead ahead now. Look out, it's dead ahead.
Hello, Steve. Steve, come in.
9 minutes fuel gone.
There's still no sign.
Hello! Hello, Steve. What happened? Charlie, get the crash squad out. Tell the Army squadron to alert their search plane.
Right.
9.5 minutes gone.
Hello! Hello, Steve. Steve, listen to me. What's happened? Where the devil is he? Hello! Come in, Steve! Steve, come in! Hello! Hello, Steve! Hello! Hello, Steve!
10 minutes.
Steve!
That's the end of the fuel.
How long has it been now?
10 hours, Mr. Hanson.
Nothing more on radar, Sergeant?
Screen's blank.
Colonel Carulli called in. The search planes are back. Couldn't find anything.
Should be some trace.
He couldn't have bailed out, could he?
You don't hit the silk at 4,400 miles an hour. We either went past the outer limit and ran out of fuel, or something blew, and we'll find the pieces scattered from here to the coast. Why does it have to be the best men? Always the best men. Charlie, we got to figure out what was wrong.
Right.
Something must have blown.
I'll call him. Goodbye. Mr. Hanson, there's a message from Northside Hospital for Steve.
Well, what is it?
Mrs. Weston is fine. It's a boy.
Oh, thank you, Elsie. It's a boy, Charlie.
Yeah.
Fine. It's a boy. He didn't even know that she went to the hospital. How am I going to tell Mary that?
No, it wasn't your fault, Mr. Hanson. The ship was tested.
Yeah, we'll build another, and some other flying fool will shoot past the outer limit into space. Well, I'm getting old, Charlie. You can remember when I used to take them up myself. Now I've got to send other men.
Look, it's a job, Mr. Hanson.
Now I'm afraid. Every time I hear a jet go off, I jump. Every time I have to send somebody up on a new model, I start to sweat.
Mr. Hanson.
Yeah?
I think I've got something on the radar.
No flights scheduled in, are there, Elsie?
No, the whole day's cleared.
It's coming in behind us. Here he comes over the building.
Yeah. What crazy jockey is buzzing the field like that? Is that an Army plane, Charlie?
No, I can't see. Here he comes back again. I know that engine. Yes, it's Steve.
That's impossible.
Look, that's his ship.
It can't be.
It's circling back for landing.
Charlie, clear the field.
He's coming back in. Mr. Hanson, there's not another ship in the world that looks like that. I tell you, it's got to be Steve.
Thank God. All right, sit down over there, Steve. Quicker we get this done, the quicker you get over to see Mary and the baby. Elsie, give the order to check and refuel the rockets. I don't want anybody in here till I get Steve's reports. Bury any calls. All right, Steve, let's have it. What the devil happened to you?
Hank, that cosmic ray bomb. Does it still go off tonight?
What are you talking about? Straighten out, Steve. Where have you been for the last 10 hours?
Listen, Hank, there's something more important.
Now, come on. I've got to get a report on the screen to Washington, so let's have it, will you? I've got to know how you stretched 10 minutes fuel to keep you in the air for 10 hours.
One thing before
now,
I talk.
Now, look, Steve.
Will you have the Geiger men run over the ship before they refuel?
What did you run into?
So help me, Hank, I don't know. But we better check and make sure it isn't radioactive.
Elsie, add a Geiger report on the standard check. Steve, maybe we better have the medics look you over, too.
No, I'm all right. They said I'd be all right.
They? Look, son, I know you've had a tough time, but we've had this field on the alert for 10 hours, boy. One of the Army boys cracked up looking for you, and he's hurt bad. So let's have the story. Let's have it straight.
I don't know how to tell you, Hank. Hank, I saw something up there.
At 300 miles?
I chased something up there, Hank, and I caught it.
Now, don't hand me that,
listen,
Steve.
Listen! I was cruising along, just starting the right bank when I spotted something. It must have been going about half my speed. It was egg-shaped and smooth. I made a pass at it, and I came back for another, and then there was a humming sound.
Humming?
Sort of a vibration. And then I blacked out. I was headed straight for it at 4,400 miles an hour. I thought it was going to be the biggest smash since Hiroshima. And listen, Hank, is there a drink in that bottle?
Yeah, sure. Well? What happened?
Hank, I came to inside their ship.
Steve, this whole thing has been a devil of a strain on you. I'm going to call Major Donaldson from the Army base, ask him to sit in.
The psychiatrist? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let him run his tests. He'll tell you I'm not kidding. Because, Hank, unless I miss my guess, I've just been tipped off to the way the world ends.
You should be getting drowsy now. Count backwards from 10.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 6.
He's under. Now we attach the head plate electrodes and the cortical pickup. Look out for that wire, Mr. Hanson. 3.0 setting and 31.3. Now, throw that switch, Mr. Hanson. I have to start him off by suggestion. All right, Steve. You're in your ship now. You're in the rocket.
Rocket?
You're in the rocket. You're in the rocket, and you've just sighted something strange.
Now I'm starting at 3° right.
What's that?
Hey, there's something up there. Something shining.
His memory pattern. We're picking it up electronically.
Something above me, Hank. I'm going to chase it.
It's piped through the audio circuits.
Getting static. I can't hear you, Hank.
This is where we lost contact with it.
I'm going to make a pass at it. Hey, it's swerving to meet me. It's dead ahead now. Look out. It's dead ahead.
Now what?
This is where he blacked out. No telling how long, minutes or hours.
What's that noise?
I don't know. Shh.
Where? How did I get here? What? Who are you?
Is he seeing things?
Galactic Patrol. What's that?
What are they saying, Steve? What are they saying?
It's about nuclear fission. They know about it. They know the danger of it. Long ago, they had wars that almost destroyed them. But finally, they learned. Now they've outlawed war.
Go on, Steve.
They patrol space. When their detector picks up an atomic explosion, they send a patrol. They've been observing Earth, and they found wars and rumors of wars.
What are they going to do?
They've quarantined us.
Quarantine?
They've isolated all Earth because we're infected with a communicable disease. Because we don't know how to control ourselves yet. And until we learn, we'll be a menace to the whole universe.
What is this nonsense?
Quiet. How are they going to do it, Steve?
Well, they've spread out a layer here of I don't know what to call it. It's all around the Earth. It's miles deep. And when there's an atomic explosion on Earth, the radioactive particles will drift up to this layer and set off a chain reaction. It'll go around the world in microseconds, and that's the end. Yes? Yes, I understand. I've got to bring back the warning. You're going to put me back in my ship to bring the warning.
Now what?
Blacked out again. I guess that's all.
What does all that mean?
It's what he remembers.
You don't think that really happened?
No. Narco-psychometry circuits produced what he remembers. Just means that Steve believes this happened.
I don't like to see this. I've seen too many top pilots snap. Steve is the best I've known. How bad do you think he is?
Well, frankly, outside of the presence of this well-organized hallucination, there are no signs of unbalance. May not be too serious. If you had a more plausible story, I'd be inclined to believe it.
Warning. Hank.
It's all right, boy.
Did you hear it, Hank? Do you understand?
Sure. We've been quarantined.
Now, let me give you something to make you sleep, Steve.
But don't you understand? They fixed it so that if we set off one more nuclear explosion, we will have had it.
Of course. Now, don't roll your sleeve down.
You don't believe me?
Now, take it easy, Steve.
But the test, they're setting off the cosmic ray bomb, Hank, tonight. What time is it?
11:20.
It's scheduled for midnight. Hank, we've got to stop that bomb.
Let Donaldson give you the hypos.
You got to believe me. I saw them. I got the warning. If we touch off the Q-bomb tonight, we'll be the biggest galactic 4th of July of all time. The whole Earth will go up like a Roman candle. April 10th, 1965, the end.
Look, Steve, you better calm down now. Don't you want to see Mary and the baby? You've got a new son, remember?
That's just it. I want to see my son. I want him to live. If the bomb goes off, Hank, we got to stop it.
Mr. Hanson, I think we'd better get over to the base hospital.
Hank, you gotta believe me.
Sure, Steve. Maybe there's something to it. Look, it's out of our hands now, Steve. I'll put it in a report, shove it into Washington in the morning.
In the morning? There won't be any morning, Hank. You've got to call Washington now. Get the head of the Security Commission and postpone the test.
Now, you know I can't do that. My neck would be out a mile. Besides, this is 1965, not 45. 20 countries have the atomic bomb now. What's the use of stopping just this one? The rest will keep right on popping them off.
Well, then we'll have to call an international conference. Can't you understand, Hank? The first one that goes off finishes us. It's the end. They've given us the quarantine warning.
Steve, I think you'd better go with us to the base hospital.
Look, Steve, we can call up for a detail if we have to.
All right, I'll go with you. You don't need a straitjacket.
That's the way, Steve. You'll probably feel better by morning. Let's go.
Tomorrow I'll drive you over to the hospital to see Mary and the kid.
Yeah, sure.
Look at the ship under the floodlights. Pretty, huh? You'll be flying her again soon, Steve. Don't worry.
Yeah, I guess so. What's she doing out on the line? They refuel her?
Yeah, we got Clausewitz coming in tomorrow from Denver for another test. Figure we'd give you a day off.
Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
Steve!
Hey, go!
Come on, Donaldson! Hey. Steve! Steve, come back here!
He's heading for the rocket!
That's crazy! Steve! Get down off of there, Steve! We can't get at him now. That hood is armor glass.
He's waving.
To its control, the radio. Come on!
I should have gotten help.
Come on, Donaldson. The radio is still hooked up. Hello, Steve.
Listen to me, Hank. You gotta call Washington now.
Look, Steve, come out of the rocket.
I'll call my men, Henson.
Don't try anything, Hank. They refueled the rocket for tomorrow.
Take it easy, Steve.
Listen, you know what'll happen if I fire the rocket tubes down here?
Steve, don't, please.
It'll burn out every building for 5 miles. All of us in one big blast.
What do you want, Steve?
You gotta stop that bomb. You gotta call Washington now.
They won't believe me.
You make that call or I cut in the rocket. I mean it, Hank. You hook my screen to yours in parallel. I want to see exactly what you're doing.
All right. Just don't fire those rockets.
Get going, Hank. You got 12 minutes to make that call and stop the bomb.
All right. I'm making the parallel hookup now. Donaldson, you think he'll really blast?
I don't know. Up to now, I'd almost say it was normal, but this Hanson, he's liable to do anything.
Steve, there, you getting it on your screen?
Yeah. Now put that call through.
All right.
Operator.
Visit screen to Washington.
The visit screen circuits are busy, sir. If you'll try again in half an hour.
This is a Security Commission priority. Break in. Get me a line.
Just a moment, please.
10 minutes, Hank.
Listen, Steve, I'm trying.
Ready to take your call, sir.
Washington Security Commission 3. Urgent. I want Undersecretary Herbert Ames.
Washington 3. 1 moment, please.
Hurry, will you, please?
1 moment, please.
Chicago.
San Marco calling Washington visit screen 3. Urgent.
Washington 3. 1 moment, please.
What time is it, Donaldson?
11:51.
Do you think he'll fire those rockets?
He might.
Washington.
Go ahead, San Marco.
Visit screen 3, Mr. Herbert Ames.
That is a coded exchange. I cannot accept your call without clearance.
Listen, Washington, put this through. This is Mr. Hanson of Hanson Rockets Incorporated at San Marco Air Base. This is the priority call. I'm coded.
1 moment, please. I will check your code number.
Get it through, Hank. That bomb goes off at 12.
Will you be reasonable, Steve?
Your call has cleared, San Marco. Washington visit screen 3, Herbert Ames.
This is your call, sir.
Security Commission, Ames. Oh, hello, Hanson.
Listen, Ames. You've got to get me the chief.
You kidding? He's at the test control room.
Yes, I know, but get him for me.
Hey, what's up? You look lousy. Or is it a bad circuit?
There's no time, Ames. I've got to get him before the test. It's about the ray bomb.
I can't take the responsibility.
Get it through, Hank, or I blast.
Hey, what's going on there?
Ames, my project has a high enough rating. This is a priority A call.
What? Well, it's your neck. Okay, I'll try to get him for you. He's in the control room, though. You'll have to switch off your screen and speaker and go on earphones. Too much going on in there. Security, you know.
You hear that, Steve? I've got to cut the screen.
All right. 8 minutes, Hank.
Hello? Hello? Yes, sir. This is Hanson at San Marco. No, sir. Priority A request to cancel the bomb test. No, look, I'm serious. I'm deadly serious. We sent the X2JTR up today to the outer limit, and we uncovered evidence. Yes, on the automatic instruments. What's that? No, this possible chain reaction. No, I can't tell you the whole story. There isn't time. Yes, I'll bring the readings into Washington in the morning. You've got to postpone the test till you see them. Yes, I understand that. I understand about the press. I'll take complete responsibility for this. What's that? Look, I've worked on contracts for the Commission for 10 years now. Yes, I have complete confidence in my information. You can record that. All right. I'll call you back immediately. Goodbye.
Hank?
He's agreed to cancel. The ray bomb won't go off.
Thank God.
All right, Steve. You can come down out of the ship.
There he comes. He's opening up.
All right, Steve. Come on down out of the ship.
Sure, Hank. Hank, I was scared. I was plain scared.
All right, easy now. It's all over. Bomb won't go off.
Thank God. Hey, look. I want to see Mary and the baby. Can you get me transportation now?
Hey, wait a minute. It's almost 12. They won't let you in the hospital now.
I want to see the baby.
For sure you do, but you've been under strain. I've got a shot here for you, Steve. Give you a good night's sleep. All right. Roll up your sleeve.
Sure.
Now, that'll make you sleep. Sergeant will find you a bed.
Come on, Mr. Weston. Well, good night, Hank. I am kind of beat. It's been a tough night.
Sure has. Thought for a minute he was going to blast those rockets and send us all to Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Quite a stunt getting the ray bomb test called off.
It isn't called off.
But the call.
Ames couldn't get the chief. I was talking to a blank screen. Bomb goes off in a couple of minutes.
Oh. Poor Steve. He's one of the best.
He was the best. 1 in 10 million.
Some story of his, poor guy. For a while, he almost had me believing that quarantine. That's a very common delusion. The end of the world.
Last night, never saw the stars so bright.
Better be getting in. That wind is cold.
Bomb goes off in 30 seconds. Poor Steve.
You know, Hanson, there's just one thing.
Yeah?
It's outside my field, but I'm curious. How did he keep that ship in the air for 10 hours with only 10 minutes fuel?
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Street and Smith, publishers of astounding science fiction. Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you The Outer Limit by Graham Dorr, as adapted for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were Joseph Julian, Wendell Holmes, Joe DeSantis, Bob Hastings, James Dukas, and Freddie Chandler. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Our next broadcast was produced for syndication in 1949 at WMGM New York. It was based on a popular series of movies in the late 1930s and early 1940s and brought to the microphone the stars of the series, Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Ayres plays the young, idealistic doctor, and Barrymore, ever in character, was the crusty, lovable diagnostician. The men worked at Blair General Hospital. One of the great citadels of American medicine, a clump of gray-white buildings planted deep in the heart of New York, where life begins, where life ends, where life goes on. We present to you Dr. Kildare on HOJO Radio.
The story of Dr. Kildare.
Whatsoever house I enter, there will I go for the benefit of the sick. And whatsoever things I see or hear concerning the life of men, I will keep silence thereon, counting such things to be held as sacred trust. I will exercise my art solely for the cure of life.
The story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer brought you those famous motion pictures. Now this exciting, heartwarming series is heard on radio. In just a moment, the story of Dr. Kildare. But first, your announcer. The story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Blair General Hospital, one of the great citadels of American medicine. A clump of gray-white buildings planted deep in the heart of New York, the nerve center of medical progress where great minds and skilled hands wage man's everlasting battle against death and disease. Blair General Hospital, where life begins, where life ends, where life goes on.
Oh, well, good morning, Dr. Gillespie.
Parker, did I or did I not have an appointment to assist the Red Cross in the opening of their new East Side Blood Donor Center?
Oh, yes. Now, let me see. I have it right here.
Yes.
Oh, yes. You're due there at 10 o'clock Wednesday.
Yes.
Oh, good heavens.
Exactly. 10 o'clock yesterday morning.
It just happened to slip my mind. I can explain the whole thing.
You idiot. With accident victims dying every day because of the shortage of blood for transfusions, you forget what day it is.
It could happen to anybody, Dr. Gillespie. I've just been so busy that
With
I haven't...
the Red Cross trying every way it can to get private citizens to donate blood, you can't bother to remember what day the center opened.
Well, when you come right down to it, I imagine they got it opened all right without you.
No, that's quite beside the point. At the moment, I am dealing with the fact that you are an incompetent, scatterbrained, unornamental, and utterly useless nincompoop.
Well.
Now give me my hat.
Here, take it.
I've got to go over there and apologize for a fault that wasn't even mine, because I can't tell them that my dull-witted nurse is simply not interested in their efforts.
I'd like you to know that I have an appointment over there Saturday myself to donate a pint of blood, so there.
Parker, I wish you'd donate 10 pints. And I'd like to replace them with a transfusion of boiling oil.
Hey, what's going on here?
Oh, good morning, Jimmy. Good morning. See you later. Goodbye.
Good morning. See you later. Goodbye. Where's he going? You're fired?
Oh, I don't care where he's going, Dr. Kildare.
Now, what's the
I've given the best years of my life to that man. I've worked and slaved for him. And does he care?
Well, of course he does.
Of course he doesn't. He's mean and nasty and insulting.
I know.
And I've stood it as long as I can.
Oh, you know he doesn't mean half of what he says.
When he's talking to me, he does. And anybody could make a little mistake like that.
Like what?
He hates me, Dr. Kildare. And he always has.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Now, you know that isn't true.
What?
And another thing, Parker. I think your mind is slipping. You ought to do something about it. Shock treatments or occupational therapy.
Oh!
Goodbye.
You see what I mean? I've never been so insulted
Now,
in my life.
wait a second. You know, he may have something there.
Dr. Kildare.
No, I don't mean that your mind is slipping, but the occupational therapy part, a hobby, in other words, might be a good idea. After all, you give too much of your life to this hospital and to Dr. Gillespie.
Well, I only try to do my duty.
You need an outside interest. Anybody would, working around him all the time.
Well, I did used to enjoy corresponding with Lonely Hearts Club.
Oh, that's good. Maybe there's some field of art or music.
And I've always wanted to take up folk dancing.
Folk dancing, huh?
Of course, I have heard that bird watching is nice.
Well, there's no doubt of that. Highly entertaining.
I really think the Lonely Hearts Clubs are the most fun, though.
Yes, I imagine. Well, I guess hobbies are always a matter of personal preference. Just don't be hasty, Parker. Just think it over.
Of course, I've had these pains, this enteritis, as you call it, for years, Dr. Kildare. Doubles me up sometimes. But lately they've got really bad. That's why I decided to enter the hospital for an examination.
I see. Well, in a few days, we ought to have a good idea of what's wrong with you, Mr. Kramer. What's his temperature, Miss Werner?
98.1.
And I seem to have lost my appetite, too. Last couple of months, I haven't eaten one square meal a day.
No wonder you have a slight anemia along with the other symptoms. I think that's all for now, Miss Werner, if you want to straighten up the examination card.
All right, Doctor.
Mr. Kramer, we'll make some lab tests today and tomorrow and possibly run a fluoroscope. Meanwhile, you just stay there in bed and take care of yourself.
Yes, Doctor.
You ready, Miss Werner?
Yes, Doctor.
See you later this afternoon, Mr. Kramer. Bye.
What do you think, Jimmy? Chronic enteritis?
On the face of it, yes, but there are some odd angles. Subnormal temperature, anemia. I don't know.
Malignancy?
Could be. And yet... Here, let me help you with that cart.
Oh, no, the elevator's right here. I'm going down to the supply room. Oh, stopped at the 10th floor. Guess we wait.
Good. Gives me 2 minutes more to talk to you.
You mean alone at last?
If you call a hospital corridor being alone.
Say, the 10th floor reminds me. Do you have any idea what Parker's doing up there?
Doing?
Uh-huh.
No, what do you mean?
Well, she took over one of the empty storerooms about a week ago, put a lock on the door, and won't let a soul in. Spends all of her spare time, lunch hour and everything, locked inside.
She had one of her usual run-ins with Dr. Gillespie last week. I suggested she take up a hobby.
Well, what kind of a hobby involves locking yourself in a storeroom?
I don't know. She mentioned bird watching. Maybe she looks out the window at the pigeons.
That I can almost buy.
Then, too, she mentioned Lonely Hearts Clubs.
No, I don't think
You've
so.
got me, baby. I'll ask Dr. Gillespie. It'll make you feel any better.
No, confound it, Jimmy. I wish I did know. She's up to something, all right, but I can't find out what it is.
But you have been trying.
Well, naturally. I'm concerned with the activities of my assistants and feel responsible for them.
To be sure.
But I can't find out a thing.
Tried asking her?
Certainly not. That's precisely what she wants.
And just how have you gone about it?
Ooh, various methods. Somewhat unorthodox, perhaps, but never...
ethical and honorable?
Oh, Jimmy, now, how could you ask?
I've seen you in action before.
Necessity supersedes all ethics.
And curiosity does, too. Is that it?
Well, confound it, she comes in here with packages and bundles all wrapped up and then hides them up there in that storeroom. Well, who wouldn't be curious?
I still think you ought to try asking her.
I couldn't ask her if I wanted to.
All right, then how about taking a look at this case report on a patient of mine?
All right, let's see it. Oh, it's Kramer, huh? I've already seen it, Jimmy. A case of chronic enteritis, no doubt about it.
But what about these symptoms I've underlined? They don't fit.
Psychosomatic complications, that's all. He's had the same trouble for years.
Not quite the same. Some of these symptoms only started a couple of months ago.
Now you're on that hobby of yours. Obscure symptoms, things other doctors overlook. Come in. Miss Parker, inasmuch as you're employed in this office, knocking before you enter is quite unnecessary.
I prefer it that way, Dr. Gillespie.
Yeah.
The keys you ordered were just delivered. Here they are.
Keys? Why, I don't know what you're talking about.
You know very well what I'm talking about. You had them made from a wax impression of my storeroom key.
Ridiculous.
It certainly is. Because I put a new lock on the door last night.
Are you actually implying that I might go snooping up there behind your back?
I am.
By the great horn spoon.
I wish you'd find some new expression, Dr. Gillespie. That one gets so monotonous.
Parker.
You're dealing with a new woman, you know. It's my hobby that did it. And you, Dr. Kildare, you're responsible.
I am?
That's why I want you to be here, too, when I reveal it to Dr. Gillespie in the morning.
Reveal what?
My hobby. You will be here, Dr. Kildare.
Oh, yes, Parker. Thank you very much. After all, I've got to know what it is that I'm responsible for.
O'clock. Confound it. She said 10 o'clock. Why isn't she here?
Relax. She'll be here.
She's due any minute, Dr. Gillespie. She had to wait for the freight elevator, so I came on ahead.
Come in.
Good morning, all.
Well, Miss Parker, I'm glad you... what's the hammer for? Hey, now, wait.
Oh, don't be silly, Dr. Gillespie. I'm just going to drive a nail in the wall. Here, in front of your desk. There.
Well, by the...
Don't you dare say by the great horn spoon.
Tarnation.
Wait just a second now, everybody. I have it right outside the door.
Better brace yourself, Jimmy.
I've been braced since yesterday.
Now, don't anybody look till I get it hung up. Yes, about... Yes. Well, there it is.
There, what is?
My hobby, my first oil painting. It's called The Operation. Like it?
By the thunderation.
Mr. Cuddlepox was absolutely amazed.
Cuddlepot?
My instructor.
Cuddlepot.
Cuddlepot.
Parker, is that thing supposed to be regarded as a painting?
Why, of course. You see, it's my impression of an operation. This blob down here is a kidney.
Ooh.
And these are scalpels. And this is an ether mask. It's all sort of modern.
Modern, yes, to be sure, yes. And is it your intention to hang this painting here in my office?
Oh, yes, I did it for you.
And I'm expected to sit here and face it 7 days a week after week?
Nah, I guess that's right. Do you really like it?
Like it? Parker, I have never before seen a more hideous monstrosity in my whole life.
Dr. Gillespie.
I have never before realized the full extent of your hatred for me. To do a thing like this. It goes. It's got to go. Oh!
Well, I guess I'd better get back to work.
Yeah, I'll go with you.
Now, wait a minute, you two.
Yes?
Well, what are you looking at me like that for? I didn't mean... Well, confound it, it's not my fault.
Dr. Gillespie. Dr. Gillespie, are you awake?
Who is it?
It's Kildare. Come on, open up.
If you wake me up in the middle of the night merely to continue the discussion of my crude and unpleasant disposition, then so help me...
Now, wait a minute. It's nothing like that.
I've talked to Parker that way for years. And if she suddenly decided to get injured feelings over it, well, it's not my fault.
Not your fault.
And I absolutely refuse to go the rest of the night lying here awake and feeling like a heel.
So that's what you've been doing.
I have not.
A guilty conscience.
Poppycock.
You're not concerned about her at all, I suppose.
Not even slightly.
Then I guess I'd better go on over by myself.
Over where?
Nurse's dormitory. Diana just phoned and said Parker's been taken suddenly ill. Sounds fairly serious.
Oh, well, wait a minute, Jimmy. Wait till I get my pants.
All right, but hurry up, you heel.
We return to the story of Dr. Kildare in just a moment. now, we continue with the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Now, take it easy, Parker. It's going to be all right.
Parker, how long has it been since these abdominal pains started?
I don't know. Must have been nearly an hour, Jimmy. She held out for quite a while before she called me.
Transverse muscles of the abdomen as hard as a rock.
Oh.
I've got some Belergel here in the kit. It might help.
I'll get it.
What do you think is wrong with me?
A little hard to tell just yet.
Oh, you're just being kind. You don't want me to know.
Confound it, Parker. I've warned you for years to stop eating marinated herring and Boston cream pie before you go to bed.
Oh, it's not indigestion. I know it's not. It's something worse.
Well, whatever it is, we'll find out and take care of it, so don't worry. Oh, Diana, will you call Wayman and have him bring a stretcher over?
All right, Jimmy.
Well, I suppose we may as well go.
All right.
Dr. Gillespie, can I ask just one favor?
Oh, I guess so. What is it?
If I
Yes.
If I don't pull through, can the painting stay?
Oh, Parker, you're not going to die of a bellyache.
But if I do, will you keep it to remember me by?
Oh, well, yes, confound it. I look at it all day and keep it in my room all night. I'll come on, Jimmy.
Okay.
She's faking it.
Including abdominal spasms, cramps in the legs, peripheral neuritis.
And it's nothing but a simple case of acute indigestion.
You know better than that.
Are you by any chance implying that this whole thing is my fault?
A nervous reaction caused by your brutality, Doctor?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. That's only your guilty conscience implying it.
Yeah.
There's something vaguely familiar about those symptoms of hers.
This is no time for a hobby.
I think maybe it is. Look, why don't you take over for a half hour? I want to do some quick reading.
Reading about what?
Symptoms.
Well, I hope you come up with something. We can't have anything happen to her, you know.
Softening up a little, eh?
Well, I've always been fond of Parker. But also, I'm thinking of the promise I made about that painting.
How's my pulse now, Dr. Gillespie? Weaker?
That is not weak. It's exactly the same. And furthermore, those cramped muscles have loosened up a little.
That's only because I'm drugged.
Parker, you are not drugged.
You're so kind, Dr. Gillespie.
Kind.
Trying to keep it from me this way.
Oh, Jimmy.
Well, it's about time.
How are you feeling, Parker?
Calm and peaceful, Dr. Kildare. It's the lull before the end.
Oh, darnation.
Well, before you cross the bar, suppose we have a little talk about painting.
Yes. I might have been a great artist had I lived.
Mm-hmm. And now, as I understand it, you've been working on this painting during your lunch hours. Is that right?
And breakfast and dinner, too. Oh, I got so caught up in it.
And then you've been painting and eating at the same time.
Oh, yes. And last night, when I was hurrying to finish, I kept dipping my brush in my coffee cup, and everything was so confused.
That's it.
I had paint all over everything.
Well, I guess that's enough for a diagnosis.
Diagnosis? What?
Diana, will you go down to the dispensary and get a gram bottle of sodium sulfate and one of potassium iodide?
Right, Jimmy.
Lead poisoning.
That's right.
Lead poisoning? Who?
You. You've got a mild case of lead poisoning from those oil paints. But you'll be all right in a day or two.
Lead poisoning.
And something else, Dr. Gillespie. I think this gives us a tip on that Kramer case.
Well, by the...
You want to say it, Dr. Gillespie?
Yes.
Then go ahead. Say it.
By the great horn spoon.
Why,
Why, yes, Dr. Kildare, I have noticed peculiar cramps in my legs during the last 2 months, but I assumed it was just a new pain from the same old trouble.
Mr. Kramer, did you change occupations by any chance a couple of months ago? Take up a new hobby or anything of that sort?
Why, no, the only new thing I did 2 months ago was to install a processing furnace to treat floor sweepings.
Oh?
Yes, from the different jewelry plants around the city. There's always a lot of gold and silver filings in the stuff, but still not enough to pay the individual plant to process its own.
Just what is this process, Mr. Kramer? I mean, how do you go about recovering the metal?
Well, I burn the sweepings first to get rid of the combustible stuff, and then I mix the ashes with litharge and charge it in...
Litharge? Red lead oxide?
That's right. The melted lead picks up the filings and it dissolves them.
All right, Jimmy. You win.
Mm-hmm. Chronic lead poisoning.
You mean that's what's the matter with me?
That's right, Mr. Kramer. The symptoms were hidden by this long-standing enteritis of yours, and that's your trouble. There's no doubt of it.
Well, can you cure it?
Yes, we can take care of the poisoning by a few days' treatment with sodium sulfate and potassium iodide. And then I think we can break down that enteritis.
All of which leads us to one conclusion, Mr. Kramer.
What conclusion, Dr. Gillespie?
That you and I ought to take up a hobby.
Morning, Dr. Gillespie.
Come in, Jimmy. Come in.
Any, new case of lead poisoning this morning?
All right. Rub it in. I got it coming to me. Should have recognized those symptoms right away.
Both of us should have, so I guess we're even. How's Parker?
I don't know. I haven't been up to see her yet this morning.
Probably just couldn't tear yourself away from contemplating that little token of her affection.
Jimmy, if I have to sit here and look at that confounded painting one more day, I'll have lead poisoning.
That's a fine attitude when she risked her life to paint it for you. She could have died, you know.
All right. I have treated her with a certain lack of consideration in the past.
That's an understatement.
And I felt guilty thinking about it the last couple of days.
So?
So I'm going to change all that when she comes back to work. I'm going to be kind to her, courteous, friendly, and considerate.
Dr. G of the Beaver Patrol.
Good morning, Dr. Gillespie.
Parker.
Dr. Kildare?
Why, Parker? You shouldn't be out of bed this soon. I didn't expect you back before the end of the week.
Well, that's awfully kind of you, Dr. Gillespie. But duty calls, you know.
Nonsense. There's no duty as important as your health and well-being.
Oh, you're so considerate.
Isn't that the truth, Parker? I've often noticed it myself.
Jenny.
Sometimes when I've said things to you that I didn't mean, well, I could just bite my tongue off.
I know exactly how you feel, Parker. I've done it, too. And to one of the most competent, charming, and intelligent women I've ever known.
Thank you, Dr. Gillespie.
Would anyone mind if I opened a window?
And, Parker, I insist that you go back to bed and take care of yourself.
Well, I still feel a little shaky. So if you really do insist.
I do.
All right, then. And I'll arrange to have the painting taken out this afternoon sometime.
Well,
I know you don't like it.
Oh, no, Parker. Why, I think it's a most amazing piece of work. Marvelous technique, delicate sensitivity.
Dr. Gillespie.
Are you sure you're not just saying that?
Of course I'm sure. Personally, I love it. I'd hate to see it go, but...
Then it doesn't go.
Huh?
Since you like it that much, it stays no matter what anybody says.
Yes, but...
Are you with us, Dr. Kildare?
With you. I'm way ahead of you, Parker. We'll all stick together like the Three Musketeers.
No, wait.
When a man loves a work of art as much as Dr. Gillespie loves that painting, why, it would be criminal to tear it away from him.
Kildare!
In fact, Parker, you might paint another one for the wall opposite there.
Jimmy!
I've even got an impressionistic title for it.
Oh, good. What is it, Dr. Kildare?
Well, it's By the Great Horn Spoon.
In just a moment, we will return to the story of Dr. Kildare. And now, once again, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Now, wait a second, Dr. Gillespie. Are you trying to tell me that she still hasn't said a word about it?
That's right, Jimmy. He hasn't mentioned it once. And it's been 4 days now.
Oh, that's amazing. Unless, of course, she had the painting taken down herself.
Well, could be, but I'm not going to ask her. Just let well enough alone. That blank wall never looked so good.
Oh, I don't know. I was getting used to it. Scarcely noticed it anymore.
Well, I noticed it. I couldn't get used to that nightmare of variegated delirium tremens in 50 years. It looked like a busted tamale. All I hope is that it ended up in the incinerator.
Come in.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Cuttlepots.
Cuttlepots?
Parker's art teacher.
I'm looking for Evangeline Parker, and someone said she just might be here.
Well, she's working on some reports down in the next office. If there's something we could...
Well, it's just that I've got some excruciatingly good news for her. Of course, you knew her painting, The Operation, was entered in the annual competition of the Brooklyn Heights Institute of Advanced Art and Culture.
No.
I didn't even know they had an institute of it. Wait a minute now. Don't...
It won first prize in the primitive division.
By the great horn spoon.
Why don't you take up a hobby, Dr. Gillespie?
I am, Jimmy, I am. So help me heaven, next week I'm starting in on folk dancing.
You have just heard the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. This program was written by Les Crutchfield and directed by William P. Russo. Original music was composed and conducted by Walter Schumann. Supporting cast included Virginia Gregg, Georgia Ellis, and Ben Wright. Dick Joy speaking.
HOJO Radio, where the classics come alive.
The story of Dr. Kildare.
Whatsoever house I enter, there will I go for the benefit of the sick. And whatsoever things I see or hear concerning the life of men, I will keep silence thereon, counting such things to be held as sacred trusts. I will exercise my art solely for the cure.
The story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer brought you those famous motion pictures. Now this exciting, heartwarming series is heard on radio. In just a moment, the story of Dr. Kildare. But first, your announcer. Now, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
Blair General Hospital, one of the great citadels of American medicine. A clump of gray-white buildings planted deep in the heart of New York, the nerve center of medical progress where great minds and skilled hands wage man's everlasting battle against death and disease. Blair General Hospital, where life begins, where life ends, where life goes on.
Oh, good morning, Dr. Carew.
Good morning, Miss Parker. Isn't it an enchanting morning this morning?
Not especially.
Well, maybe it's just me then. Oh, there's good news today.
There is?
Oh, yes, indeed. Guess who's writing?
Oh, that. Well, I don't have to guess. I've already heard.
Isn't it wonderful?
Terrific.
Is Dr. Gillespie here?
Yes, he's there in his office. Dr. Kildare's with him.
Well, I'll just go right on in and surprise them. Oh, they're going to be happy to hear about this.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Top of the morning to both of you gentlemen.
Well, now, what's all this, Dr. Carew? You're walking about 2 feet above the carpet.
Jimmy, it's one of two things, vitamins or Benzedrine.
Now, Dr. Kildare, Dr. Gillespie, don't start twitting me. You'll be just as excited when you find out about it.
Find out about what?
About the arrival from England on the 11 o'clock plane of Lady Dunnaby.
Lady Donnaby?
Yes. I just sent Wayman to bring her from the airport.
You mean she's back again this year for another one of those month-long rest cures?
Now, Dr. Kildare, let's not be facetious. She's entering their hospital for observation and examination.
Observation and examination. She merely comes here to recover from the year's social whirl.
She wastes our time and takes up a suite that could be used by someone who really needs it.
Carew, you must have a hole in your head.
Oh, I did so hope you'd act differently about it this year.
Different about it? Why doesn't she go to a hotel like anybody else?
Oh, dear.
Dr. Carew, would this attitude of yours have anything to do with that donation you tried to get from Lady Donnaby last year?
Dr. Kildare, must you be so insufferably blunt?
By the tarnation. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after all, this hospital does need funds, you know.
And no one knows it better than we do, Dr. Carew, but do we have to take in boarders in order to raise money?
Oh, now, that is a complete misinterpretation, Dr. Kildare. Aside from the question of money, Lady Donnaby does suffer ill health, and I feel we are honored to have such a charming young woman.
Ah, young woman. According to rumor, Lady Donnaby, before she managed to hook Lord Donnaby in a weak movement, was one of the original Floridora gals.
Yeah, third from the end, as I heard the story.
Oh, dear, it's just no use trying to reason with you two. It's just no use at all.
Carew, suppose we make a bargain with you.
A bargain?
Yeah. This woman is coming here for observation and examination. So that's exactly what she gets.
Oh, good heavens, no. I'm sure she wouldn't like that at all.
Nor do I imagine the Board of Regents would like it if they knew a patient was spending a month here without even a diagnosis being made.
Oh, dear.
And, of course, that would reflect back on me as head diagnostician.
Oh, dear, dear.
I think it's only your duty to inform them right away, Dr. Gillespie. Here, can you reach the phone all right?
Dear, dear.
No, thank you, Jimmy, thank you. Now, let's see.
No! Stop! Oh, dear gentlemen. You will be as easy on her as possible.
Now, just relax, Carew. Don't worry about it. You know us.
You there, young woman.
Yes, madam?
I assume you're employed here from that get-up you're wearing.
That's right. I'm a nurse, Diana Werner. Is there something I can do for you?
You certainly can. You can get me a room and some service and the manager.
Do you mean Dr. Carew?
That's it, Carew.
Well, if you'll just have a seat there in the lounge.
There she is, talking to Miss Werner. How are you, Lady Hood?
So, you finally remembered leaving me here, you half-witted speed maniac?
She's talking about when I brought her from the airport, Doc. You're still a little shook up, huh?
I'll shake you up. Well, young man, who are you?
I'm Dr. Kildare. I assume you're Lady Donnaby.
You never made a better assumption.
You've met Wayman, of course, and Miss Werner.
Oh, yes, we've met.
And this is Dr. Gillespie, our chief diagnostician.
Good.
All very well and good, but I don't need a doctor, I need a room.
Of course you do, so if you just go up to the registry desk on the second floor, they'll be glad to take
I will not. I have never registered in this hospital before, and I won't start now. Where's that little pipsqueak Carew?
I'm afraid you're out of luck, Lady Donnaby. He's barricaded in his office. You'll have to deal with us.
I see. All right, let's start dealing. I demand that you have my luggage brought from the airport at once. I demand a suite within 5 minutes. I demand the presence of the hospital dietitian within 10 minutes.
Lady Donnaby, shut up.
What?
In this hospital, I give the orders, not the patients.
Well.
And you can take one or two choices. Either get up there and register or call a taxi and get out. Now make up your mind. Shall we go, Jimmy?
Right. See you later, Diana.
Okay, Jimmy. Well, now, you don't find a man like that very often these days. He's quite a lad.
Well, I think so.
Knows his own mind.
He can be awfully stubborn when he thinks he's right.
And he's not too bad looking either.
Most people think Dr. Kildare is rather handsome.
Kildare? Well, who said anything about Kildare? Oh, now, where did Dr. Gillespie tell me I must go to register?
You realize realize that this is the first chance I've had this week to be alone with you.
Of course, Jimmy. Why do you think I cornered you here in your office?
Baby, where you're involved, I corner awfully easy.
Oh, I'm not so sure.
No? Why not?
Well, it has been a week, you know.
Oh, I've been stuck to work every single night. Never had a fuller schedule. However, I'm not working right at this moment. And,
Yes?
Dr. Kildare, would you mind looking over the... Oh, well, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't know that...
It's all right, Parker. What is it?
Oh, nothing, Dr. Kildare. Nothing at all that won't keep until... until... I'm just awfully sorry.
There's a great example of tactful exit,
Well, her heart's in the right place.
I suppose. How about yours?
Oh, it's showing some rather strange symptoms lately.
Huh?
Jumpy, I call it.
Interesting coincidence. Mine's been doing the same thing. I wonder if there's any connection.
You tell me, Jimmy. You're the doctor.
Well,
Good morning, Jimmy. Miss Verna?
it was a good morning.
Why is everyone acting so unfriendly? Parker just tried to shoo me away.
Oh, don't pay any attention to Jimmy, Dr. Gillespie. He doesn't mean it.
Why, it's all right. It's a very good attitude in view of the examination we're due to make in about 5 minutes.
Huh? Oh, yes, Lady Donaby. I'd forgotten about that.
Well, if you're going up there in 5 minutes, I'd better get it ready.
You mean you got stuck with her? How come?
Oh, I asked for it, Jimmy.
Oh.
Knew you'd be on the case. Bye.
Of course, I don't know what a general condition may show, but I think we should concentrate on that game leg.
Game leg? Diana?
Jimmy?
Oh, Lady Donaby, yes. Well, from what she said, her trouble is apparently sciatica, so it may be tough to do anything. Sciatica nearly always had an uncertain etiology.
Yes, I agree. But we've still got to make a stab at it. We're out on a limb with Carew, you know.
Yeah, I know. All right, Doctor. Lioness lurks in her den.
For 2 days now, you've embarrassed me with undignified questions, poked me full of needle holes, and I don't mind telling you I'm fed up with it.
Ah, fiddle faddle. You haven't had so much attention in years.
I didn't come here for attention. I came here for a rest.
Well, now at least you know a little more about yourself. Heart, lungs, general physical condition, all perfect.
Young man, I knew that before I ever laid eyes on this place. There's nothing wrong with me that a little peace and quiet won't cure.
What about this bad leg? Peace and quiet won't help you get rid of that cane.
Nor will anything else. I've had sciatica off and on for 5 years. Been to the best doctors in Europe. Boiled myself in the best hot springs on the continent. The works. And I won't have you messing around with it. It can't be cured.
I'm not so sure of that.
Uh-oh, Jimmy. Sleeping dog.
Well, I've got an idea. It may be a particular type of sciatica, and I'd like to take some x-rays of your spine in order to find out.
X-rays? Well, I thought I'd already had the full treatment, and now it's X-rays.
Well, it's the only way to be sure. The decision's up to you, of course, but I strongly advise agreeing with it.
Dr. Kildare, I won't do it. I absolutely will not do it.
Oh.
It's all right, Jimmy. She'll do it.
Dr. Gillespie, you're a fascinating man, in a primitive sort of way.
Oh, I know. A diamond in the rough with a heart of gold. To mix a pair of metaphors.
Maybe, but that still doesn't give you any right to order me around.
Well, it's up to you. We haven't found a thing wrong with you. And if you won't permit further examination, you can't stay here in the hospital.
What?
So I might as well call the front office and arrange to have you released at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Now, wait a minute, boys. Let's not be too hasty about this.
Come in.
Hiya, boss. I got the stretcher here to take her down to X-ray. They got the machine all set up and waiting.
Well, now, somebody must have been pretty sure of himself.
I guess it's one of two choices again. Taxi to a hotel or Wayman's stretcher down to X-ray.
I'll push it slow, Your Excellence. Honest, I will.
My arm, Lady Donaby.
Thank you.
Here, Wayman. You take her feet.
Confounded, Jimmy, you're sticking your neck out 1.5 miles. You're going off the deep end and jumping at conclusions.
And you're mixing metaphors again. No, I started on a hunch, all right, thinking maybe it was something we could diagnose definitely, but now I'm sure of it.
Well, I'm not.
No, there's no doubt of it. It's a herniation of the nucleus pulposus.
Ah, it's a wild guess, tied up with wishful thinking.
Why? Everything points to it. The fact that only one leg is affected, that the pain is intermittent, disappears suddenly sometimes.
Well, that's insufficient evidence. Doesn't mean a thing.
Well, I'll go on record with it.
Well, sure neck, Jimmy. I'll wait for the x-rays.
All right. Take a look at these.
By the great horn spoon, a double cross.
Yeah, I'd already seen them. It was a dirty trick. Here, look at this one. Notice the cartilage disc between the last lumbar vertebrae and the sacrum.
Yeah. There's a crack, all right, on the left side.
And the pulposus is protruding into the spinal canal, pushing against the nerve root. And there's your sciatica.
Why argue, Jimmy? You're right. Not a doubt about it.
We're lucky. This is one we know what to do about.
Well, now you are jumping at conclusions. She's a hard-headed dame, and there's a limit to how far you can push her. Furthermore, she's had the opinions of the best doctors in Europe. Jimmy, you'll never convince her.
No, I think I will. In fact, I'm not only going to convince her, I'm going to operate her. And I'm going to cure her. Now, you wait and see. The works.
We return to the story of Dr. Kildare in just a moment. We continue with the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
I don't have any idea how he found out, Dr. Gillespie. All I know is that he's on his way down here and he's in a tizzy.
Yeah, I'll bet he is.
I just can't imagine who could have told him.
Ah, come now, Pug. I can imagine very easily.
Really, who?
You.
Huh?
You confounded idiot shooting off that big mouth of yours all over the hospital.
I did not.
One of these days, I'm going to remove that flapping tongue of yours and pickle it.
Well, I like that.
Hey, what's going on here?
Oh, come in, Jimmy. Come in. Old Blabbermouth here has managed to let Carew find out the whole story on the Donaby diagnosis. He's on his way down now.
Dr. Kildare, I did not. And I won't stay here and be insulted. I only told 3 of the nurses, and I swore them to secrecy. So there.
That woman is a positive genius at doing the wrong thing.
Oh, I don't think it did any real harm.
Why, you'll blow his top.
I know. But I think I can cork him up again.
Well, I hope so, Jimmy.
Come in.
Dr. Kildare. Oh, I hope I'm here in time.
In time for what, Dr. Carew?
Dr. Kildare, you haven't told Lady Donaby your diagnosis.
No, not yet.
Thank heaven.
Any reason I shouldn't?
Of course there is, can't you see? Why, she'll blame us for recommending an operation.
We didn't give her sciatica.
That is not the point. She'll still remember Blair's the place that wanted to operate on her. And we won't have the slightest chance of getting any financial... Dr. Kildare, I absolutely forbid you to say a word to her about the diagnosis.
All right, you're the boss.
What? You mean you're going to be reasonable about this?
Yeah, I'm amazed myself.
Why not? It isn't my responsibility.
Well...
Of course, some other doctor will probably make the same diagnosis sometime.
Oh, yes, possibly, but that's no concern of ours.
And we are on record here as having made a thorough examination, complete with x-rays.
Yes, we're noted always for our... What do you mean?
A wealthy woman like Lady Donaby undoubtedly has very competent legal advisors. I'd say they'd probably sue for $50 or maybe $100,000.
Oh, dear. I never thought of that.
Something else, Jimmy. There'll probably be a lot of notoriety. She's prominent enough.
Oh, dear.
Oh, sure. I can see the headlines. Society doctor indicted in malpractice conspiracy.
Oh, dear.
Head of Blair.
Evidence, symptoms, poppycock. Why didn't those European doctors find out about it?
I couldn't say.
If it's the operation you're worried about, forget it. It's comparatively simple, and Kildare's one of the best surgeons in the country.
You agree with this idea of his, Dr. Gillespie?
Certainly, no question about it.
An operation would mean you could throw away that cane, be free of any more discomfort, and forget you ever had sciatica.
If you're right, of course.
I know I'm right.
Oh, you do, huh?
Of course, it's up to you to decide, Lady Donaby.
Well, I'll tell you. The whole thing sounds just too simple. So simple, I'm not going to have it done.
Well, I think you're making a mistake.
Jimmy, it's no use. We're wasting our time. I never saw a more contrary human being in my life.
Well, you just try looking in a mirror, you old Airedale.
Airedale?
Yes, I got you figured out perfectly. You're me all over again.
Ooh, I certainly hope not. Come on, Jimmy. Let's go.
All right. Lady Donaby, I still hope you'll reconsider your decision.
I have already, Dr. Kildare. When do you want to operate? Oh, Grouchy was right, you know. I am contrary.
Why, the great horn spoon.
I simply don't believe the operation is going to help. And I want to have the horse laugh on both of you.
We'll take the chance. How about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning?
9's too early. I'm a late sleeper.
Huh?
Make it 10.
Cantankerous, stubborn, mean. A woman after my own heart.
Dear, oh, dear. Stop, Dr. Gillespie. Stop. Hold everything.
Stop what, Curl? What's the matter with you?
You should know what's the matter. Where is Dr. Kildare?
How do I know? I'm not running a hospital information service.
Please, no quips, Dr. Gillespie. This is a crisis.
Fine. It's been over 3 hours since the last one.
We've got to find him at once.
Well, I'll look through my desk if you like.
Miss Parker said the last time she saw him, he was headed for surgery.
Well, that's quite possible.
That's exactly what we've got to stop.
All right, go stop it. I'm busy myself.
Dr. Gillespie, I do wish you'd learn to cooperate.
Cooperate, Dr. Gillespie? Are you causing trouble again?
Kildare. Oh, good. We're saved.
I didn't even know we were lost.
Dr. Kildare, I have made a final and absolute decision. The Donaby operation must be cancelled.
Well, that's a very interesting decision anyway.
There is nothing that can change my mind. You see, I had a long talk with our legal advisor.
Indeed, someone said he died months ago.
Please. Now, as for all those terrible things you said might happen, our attorney advises me that they were nothing but, well, to put it baldly, flim-flam.
That's certainly bald, all right.
So, I think it's time both of you listen to reason.
Oh, that's too much to hope for.
Well, Dr. Carew, you seem to be holding all the cards. What do you propose?
That this operation be cancelled at once.
I see. Of course, Dr. Carew, if those are your instructions, people will certainly think I'm out of my mind.
I don't see why.
You will when I tell you I operated on Lady Donaby 2 hours ago.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, dear. Where the tarnation did I put those smelling salts?
Oh, never mind, Dr. Gillespie. Here, I'll just wave a dollar bill under his nose.
Now, don't rush me, boys. As far as I can tell, you've cured that dang sciatica all right. But you've given me aches and pains I never had before.
Sore muscles. Ones you haven't been using because you were favoring that leg. Just walk slowly now and take it easy. It'll work loose.
And you know, you ought to stop every few steps now and give us the horse laugh.
Oh, be quiet, you old billy goat. If I hadn't been confident, I wouldn't have agreed to the operation, no matter what I said.
I think we'd better head back to your room now, Lady Donaby. You've been walking nearly half an hour.
Yeah, doing very well at it, too. Why, we'll have you dancing by the end of the week.
That's a good idea. I'll take you up on it.
Oh, well, I only meant it.
I don't care what you meant. I've already accepted.
Well, that's what I like in a woman. Subtlety.
Piffle.
Well, now, isn't this a happy little group?
Good morning, Dr. Carew. You're looking much better this week.
I feel fine, Dr. Kildare. Good morning, my dear Lady Donaby.
Mr. Carew, stop nibbling my hand.
Oh, forgive me, your ladyship. It's just my exuberance at seeing you looking so well. Your old charming self again. But that's their hospital. We always get results when we go into action.
Well, I don't know about that we stuff, but actually I have changed my mind about this place. Always regarded it as a glorified rest home. And I'm a little amazed to find at least a couple of the staff are medically competent. Boys, you've got more important work than walking an old woman up and down the hall. Mr. Carew will take me back to my room. He's not doing anything.
Well, now I mean, of course. Delighted.
Don't forget that date of ours, Dr. Gillespie.
Oh, to be sure, yes.
My arm, Lady Donovan.
Thank you. You call this an arm? I found bigger muscles in clam chowder.
Well, now, Dr. K, how does it feel to be royal court physician?
It's like riding a merry-go-round backwards, Dr. G. Ask me the next time I come fast. I'm still spinning.
In just a moment, we will return to the story of Dr. Kildare. Once again, the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres as Dr. Kildare and Lionel Barrymore as Dr. Gillespie.
But, Jimmy, it's after 12 o'clock, and Dr. Gillespie never goes out of the hospital at night. What do you suppose he is?
I don't know, sweetie. He was very mysterious about the whole thing. Slipped out around 7 o'clock without a word to anybody.
Well, after all, something could have happened to him, you know.
Well, if he can't take care of himself at this age, there's not much use in it.
Here we go.
Hey, what's all this?
Oh, hiya, Doc. Look, it's Doc Kildare and Miss Payne.
Oh, carnation.
What's the idea of the stretcher, Dr. Gillespie?
Nothing, Jimmy, nothing at all.
I got an emergency call to come over and get him at the Cobania Club.
So that's it. And at your age...
Jimmy, I am not intoxicated.
Maybe it's sciatica, Dr. Gillespie.
Ah, young lady, you keep out of this.
Come on now, let's have it. What's wrong with you?
Ah, confound it. I am merely suffering from a well-known tropical disease called the conga.
The conga? Oh, Lady Donovan.
Yeah, that woman is the original whirling dervish. Oh, Jimmy, will you set up an X-ray room in the morning? Think I'm out of joint in 14 different places.
Be glad to. And putting it another way, you might say it was caused by being out of place in 14 different joints.
Oh.
Good night, Doctor.
You have just heard the story of Dr. Kildare, starring Lou Ayres and Lionel Barrymore. This program was written by Les Crutchfield and directed by William P. Russo. Original music was composed and conducted by Walter Schumann. Supporting cast included Virginia Gregg, Ted Osborne, Georgia Ellis, Ed Max, and Isabel Randolph. Dick Joy speaking.
Our next broadcast is a radio mystery drama which ran from May 16th, 1942 until September 27th, 1955 on CBS Radio Network. The show was also broadcast in Chicago and over Armed Forces Radio. On the West Coast, it was sponsored by the Signal Oil Company. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program. The program was also adapted into a film noir series by Columbia Pictures in 1944. Each episode began with the sound of footsteps and a person whistling. The haunting signature theme tune was composed by Wilbert Hatch and featured Dorothy Roberts whistling with an orchestra. We present to you The Whistler on HOJO Radio.
Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
Sylvia warned me. She told me about you. Now I know why. She was telling the truth. She knows you, Frank Gerard. She said you were no good.
Another Sunday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the unusual story of the confession. The courthouse walls of a county in an eastern state have echoed for many years the vibrant, persuasive voice of William Marshall. Marshall has defended countless numbers of persons, great and small, who've become entangled in the meshes of the law, and he has never lost the case. The great criminal lawyer attributes his success to the fact that he has never taken a case in which he was not convinced that the defendant was either innocent or the victim of unfortunate circumstances. At the moment, in the anteroom of Marshall's office, a beautiful young girl and a handsome man of 30 wait for an audience with the attorney. After some 15 minutes of waiting, the girl speaks to the handsome man.
Pardon me, but are you in a terrible hurry to see Mr. Marshall?
Why, no. No, that is, my business can wait a few moments.
Well, I'd appreciate it so much if I could see him first. I'll only be a few minutes. I just got off the train and I've got to see him.
I see. Is it really as bad as all that?
What?
You sound as though you're in terrible trouble.
Oh, I am. I really am.
Oh, that's too bad. How did it happen?
How did what happen?
How'd you get into such trouble?
Well, I've spent all my money. I'm broke.
Oh, is that your trouble?
Yes. What did you think?
Oh, I thought maybe you'd murdered your husband.
Oh, no, I haven't a husband. I've never been married.
No. Well, my name is Frank Gerard.
Yes? My name is Jean Marshall. William Marshall is my father. I've been away at school for a year, and you know what can happen to a girl's finances in a year. So I've either got to borrow some money from Father or borrow his car to get home.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do if you care to wait a few minutes. That is, after I get to see your father, I'll take you right to your door.
Well, I suppose it's all right. Are you a client of Father's, Mr.
I certainly hope to be. He's a busy man, but I hope he can find time to handle my business.
All right. I live in Mission Hills.
That's not far. I have nothing to do. I'd love to accommodate you.
Then I won't be with Father over 1 minute.
Your father will be right out, Miss Marshall.
Jean, darling, I'm very glad you're home. What are you doing at the office?
I'm broke, Father.
All right, here you are. Money, money, money. Sorry, darling. I wish I could talk to you a while now, but I've got to be in court in 20 minutes. See you at dinner.
This gentleman's waiting to see you, Mr. Gerard.
Oh, I see. Gerard? Well, come in, Mr. Gerard. See you at dinner, Jean.
Yes, Father. Bye.
Come along, Gerard. Gerard. Sit down. Seems to me I've seen you before, Gerard.
Have you, Mr. Marshall? Where?
Gerard. Wait a minute. I know now. You're Frank Gerard.
That's right. Frank Gerard.
What do you want?
I want you to handle a case for me.
What sort of a case?
A murder case.
Murder? Who did you kill, Gerard?
Now, wait a minute. First, I want to know if you're going to handle the case.
That depends. Who did you kill and what were the circumstances? And remember, I want the truth. I've got to know everything.
All right. I killed Joe Barkowitz.
Joe Barkowitz? So, that's what happened to Joe.
Yeah. And the police are hot on the trail. And sooner than you imagine, they're going to trace it to me. In fact, they're on my trail now. And the evidence is going to be so strong against me because we were enemies that, well, I'm going to have a tough job convincing a jury.
Convincing them of what?
That I shot Joe Barkowitz in self-defense.
Self-defense? You shot him in self-defense?
Certainly, I'm not a killer.
Self-defense. Do you expect me to believe that?
Why shouldn't you?
Gerard, I know all about you. You belong on the shady side of this city. You've pulled several things that have not been traced to you. You've gotten away with them. But I think you're very bad material. Joe Barkowitz was bad material. It's too bad you didn't kill each other at the same time.
Is that the way you feel about it?
I do. And if Joe Barkowitz came to me with the same story, I'd tell him the same thing. It wasn't in self-defense.
Yeah? I've got a witness.
Oh.
Mickey Gifford was with me. He saw Joe pull a gun on me.
Mickey Gifford? Why, I wouldn't trust him across the street. He was Joe Barkowitz's right-hand man until you came along. He'd turn state's evidence so fast it'd make you dizzy.
You really think that, eh?
Certainly. I wouldn't touch your case.
Why not?
Because I think you deliberately murdered Joe Barkovitz. And I've never yet defended a person unless I was convinced he was innocent of malice aforethought.
So you don't think I killed Joe in self-defense?
No. I know you. I know all about you.
Okay, Marshal, I'll find somebody else.
Then find them. I'm not interested.
You're making a big mistake, Marshal. A big mistake.
I'm a busy man, Gerard. Good day.
Okay, Marshal. Okay. Oh, Miss Marshall, I was longer than I thought I'd be. Huh?
That's all right, Mr. Gerard.
Where did you say you live? Oh, yes, Mission Hills. Are you ready now?
I certainly am. I've got some bags downstairs. Can you handle them?
I'd be delighted, Miss Marshall. Come along.
This is awfully sweet of you. How can I thank you?
Oh, you don't have to thank me, Miss Marshall. It's a pleasure. A great pleasure.
A week later, Jean Marshall has fallen deeply in love with Frank Gerard. She has seen Frank night after night. Now, 2 weeks later, she has begun to stay out rather late. Too late, in fact, to please her beautiful stepmother, Sylvia, who has mentioned the matter to Mr. Marshall.
Jean, dear, you've been getting in rather late quite a few nights in succession, haven't you?
Well, yes. Lots of parties this summer, Father.
They seem to break up unusually late. Sylvia says you came in around 3 this morning.
Oh? Were you awake when I came in, Sylvia?
Yes, I've been troubled with insomnia lately.
Insomnia at your age? Why, you should do something about that, Sylvia.
Who escorts you to these parties, Jean? Why do you always leave here alone?
Oh, that's the way everyone's doing these days.
Why?
Gas rationing. The girl meets her escort halfway, parks her car, and continues on in his.
I see. Well, I'd prefer that you try to get in a little earlier. I didn't know you were staying out so late until Sylvia told me.
Is that why Sylvia has insomnia?
Yes, Jean. You never say where you're going or who you're going with. It naturally worries me.
Where were you last night?
Well, I went to a party given by Jack Hyatt. You know the Hyatts.
Oh, of course. But I'm sure you understand what Sylvia and I mean.
Oh, I'm not a kid anymore.
Well, I've got to run along now. See you at dinner, Sylvia.
Why didn't you tell your father the truth, Jean?
I told him everything he wanted to know.
You weren't at the party given by Jack Hyatt last night because Jack Hyatt has been at Pensacola Naval Station for 4 weeks.
He's on leave.
I talked to his mother yesterday. She'd have told me if he were home. You're meeting the same man every night. Someone you don't want us to know about. Oh, it has nothing to do with gas rationing. Either he doesn't want to come here or you don't want him to come.
You're not my mother, Sylvia. And you're not so many years older than I am, so why don't you quit trying to mother me?
Are you in love with this man?
Yes, I am. Terribly in love. I've never met anyone like him. He's young, handsome, and charming, and I'll marry him the minute he asks me. Does that answer your question?
Why don't you bring him to the house?
Because he and Father had some business disagreements, and Father doesn't care for him. But whether Father likes him or not, well, that has nothing to do with me.
Who is he?
His name is Frank Gerard.
Frank Gerard? You mean...
Well, what's wrong with him?
Oh, you can't mean it.
Well, what are you so shocked about? Do you know him?
No. That is, not personally. Oh, but he isn't your type. He's a gambler, a gangster.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
He belongs to the lowest element in town, the underworld. Oh, no wonder he doesn't want to come here. He's not in love with you. He's stringing you. He isn't the marrying kind. Oh, please, Jean, don't see him anymore. Oh, if your father knew this, it would kill him.
If we're talking about the same man, Father is entirely wrong. Father forms opinions about people he knows nothing about from personal experience. Frank is the sweetest man in the world.
Oh, please, Jean, don't go through with this.
You know nothing about him except what Father has told you?
No.
Then why don't you stop saying things about people? Things of which you have no personal knowledge.
Very well, Jean. I'm terribly sorry for you. I'm sorrier for your father. This will break his heart.
Oh, Sylvia, don't be so dramatic.
And now several more days have passed, and Jean continues to see Frank Gerard, but never brings him to the house. Sylvia has said nothing about Jean's infatuation to the father for fear of the consequences. Then one day, Frank Gerard has an unexpected visitor at his apartment.
Well, hello, Frank.
Annette. Well, come in.
Haven't seen you around for quite a while.
No, I've been awfully busy lately.
Yeah? What's been keeping you so busy?
Oh, one thing or another?
I haven't heard from you in over 2 weeks. Lose my phone number?
No.
Why don't you use it?
I told you I've been busy. I've been out of town a good deal.
I subscribe to the Grapevine. You ought to know that I can find out everything I want to.
Yeah?
Frank, you're making one terrific mistake if you think I'm the kind of a gal who can be kicked into the corner like an old shoe whenever you take a notion.
Who's kicking you around?
What else would you call it?
Now, look, you haven't anything to squawk about, Annette. You've had all the breaks for a couple of years.
So, just like that, you decide you've seen me around a little too long.
Now, your imagination's running wild. You're just working yourself up into a dither.
You said it. And Frank, when I really get worked up, you'll see a dither that is a dither.
You needn't get any louder.
I've overlooked an incident or two before because they were mere flashes in the pan. But believe me, this time it's different.
You've been listening to a lot of bunk.
I know where you've been and what you've been doing since the last time I saw you.
So what?
I'm a woman, Frank. Oh, not from Vassar or Park Avenue. But when it comes to feelings and emotions, I'm just like any other woman. I don't care who she is. Waited and waited for that moment when we could be married.
Married?
No other woman will ever love you as I have. You belong to me, Frank. This Marshall girl has no right whatever, do you hear?
That's not for you to decide.
Oh, you don't love her. You've suddenly gone high-hat. You'll only make a sap of yourself.
You're just a natural-born troublemaker, Annette.
Troublemaker?
Yes. If you had any ideas about marriage, you concocted them yourself. I never mentioned the subject.
I could kill you.
What did you say, Annette?
Frank Gerard, if you marry this Marshall girl, if you even see her again, I'll kill you.
Kill me?
Yes.
I think you're bluffing, Annette Laverne.
I'll show you.
I intend to see Jean Marshall many, many times. And if I should decide to marry her, I will.
So long, Frank. I'll be seeing you.
Yeah. You better change your face before you get outside. You might scare somebody.
And on that very evening, Frank Gerard and Jean Marshall sit in a booth of a quiet roadside inn on the outskirts of town. The old innkeeper, having no other customers, divides his time between serving the food and playing soft music on an old violin.
Well, I like it here, Frank. So quiet and secluded. How'd you ever find it?
Oh, I don't know.
Have you been here before?
Once. Some time ago.
You know, darling, I guess that's why I like you so much.
Yeah? Why?
Well, you always seem to know the right thing to do at the right time, the right place to go.
Do I, dear?
Yes. And we seem to get along so well together. We talk about so many things. We understand each other.
Yes.
We seem to have so much in common. Mutual interest in things and places and people.
We've sort of avoided people. Huh?
Why should we want people around us? Nightclubs positively bore me. You really love me, don't you, Frank?
What do you think?
Oh, darling. From the moment you leave me at night until I see you again next day, I almost... Well, it seems like 1,000 years. All day long, I worry and worry.
What about?
That I won't see you that evening.
Don't ever worry about that, Jean.
Remember that day in Father's office when we first met?
I certainly do.
Did you feel the same way as I did?
I'm sure I did.
I knew from that moment that I loved you. That no one else had ever or would ever mean so much.
You're such a lovely girl, Jean. Lovely eyes. Red hair. In fact, you're the most beautiful picture I've ever seen in my life.
Frank, darling, I have a wonderful idea.
So have I. A terrific idea.
Why can't we drive someplace out of town tomorrow?
That's just what I was going to suggest. We can drive out of town and go to someplace up in the mountains. We can swim and fish and boat. Would you like that?
And we could stop someplace on the way, some little town.
Oh, of course we could.
Just as
there are a dozen towns on the way.
Oh, Frank, darling, I've never been so happy in all my life.
Oh, wait a minute.
What's wrong?
Oh, I can't possibly go tomorrow, Jean. I have an important engagement tomorrow. A business engagement. It's very important. I've got to keep it.
Oh, Frank.
We can leave the next morning early. Won't that be all right, dear?
Well, I guess it'll have to be all right.
Good. And I won't see you until morning after tomorrow because, well, I'll be tied up all tomorrow evening as well.
Oh, darling.
I can't help it. I don't like it any more than you do.
All right. Guess I can stand it. Tomorrow morning and all day tomorrow and tomorrow night. Well, I guess I can pull through. I'll see you at the usual place day after tomorrow. What time?
We'd better start early. Say, 8 o'clock.
I'll be there, darling.
The next afternoon, Jean is in her room packing a few outing things. Her father has come home from the office early, so he drops in to see Jean on his way to his room.
Hello, Jean.
Father, what on earth are you doing home so early?
Oh, I don't know. I got a little weary, kind of tired lately, so I thought I'd just quit for the day. The heat was terrific in town.
Why don't you give up practicing? Heaven knows you've enough money.
Oh, I've thought about it, but I just can't bring myself to quit. Afraid I'll fall apart once I admit I'm through with the profession.
I should think you'd want to quit and get around a bit and enjoy life. See things. You've done nothing but keep your nose to the wheel.
Where in the world can you go these days?
Oh, there are plenty of places to go. Right around here. Within 100 miles of your own door.
Mm-hmm. And where are you going?
Oh, I'm running up to the mountains with some of the gang.
Looks like you're packing enough for a week.
Really? Oh, no, just for the weekend.
Tell me, in all the parties you've been to this summer, how does it happen you haven't been to the Wilmots?
Oh, I don't know. Just didn't happen to fit in, I guess. Parties at several places every night.
Fine family, the Wilmots. Fine family. What happened to you and Charlie Wilmot? You and Charlie used to be great pals before you went away to school. Always liked that boy.
Oh, when kids go away to school, things like that just break up.
Hasn't broken up with Charlie. I saw him today, and he's still crazy about you, Jean.
Is he?
Yes, he said he tried and tried to talk to you on the phone, but you were never in.
Maybe I wasn't.
I'm taking Charlie into my firm as junior partner next week. Oh, he'll make a fine lawyer. Lots of brains, that boy.
No, he's such a stick in the mud.
You could do far worse.
Are you trying to make a match for me? Is that it?
Oh, certainly not. I wouldn't want you to marry anyone you didn't love.
Oh, good. I'm glad you said that. So why don't you let me select the man? I'm sure I'm capable of finding the one I love.
All right, but Charlie's a fine boy.
Oh, here you are, William. You're home early. Don't you feel well?
Well, you know.
Oh, you're awfully pale, dear. You've had another one of those dizzy spells.
Yes, doctor said it's just my liver. Take it easy over the weekend. Jean's going up to the mountains for a few days.
Mountains?
Yes. Well, I think I'll take a nap before dinner.
When did you decide to go to the mountains, Jean?
Last night.
You're really going to the mountains?
Yes, I'm going to the mountains with some of the gang.
When?
Tomorrow morning at 8, and as usual, you don't believe me.
Well, I think you may be going to the mountains, but not with the gang, as you term it.
Then maybe you'd like to come along to make sure. Would you like to be chaperone? Maybe I could arrange it.
Please don't go, Jean. Please don't. You'll regret this to the last day of your life.
Think so?
You're not going with the gang. You're going with him, with Frank Gerard.
Yes. And on the way, we're going to be married.
Married? I don't believe that.
Why should I lie about it?
You may think he's going to marry you, but he has no such intentions. It's an old trick.
Sylvia, if you don't drop the subject, you'll drive me into hysterics.
Very well, Jean. I've warned you. I've done my best. You're going to be a sad, sad girl.
The afternoon passes and evening comes. Frank Gerard in his apartment lolls and considers the past and the future. Then, as he prepares a drink, there is a soft knock at his door.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Gerard.
Well, please come in. What can I do for you, Mrs. Marshall?
I want to talk to you.
Yeah? Well, make yourself comfortable. Oh, what a beautiful gown, Mrs. Marshall.
Thank you.
I haven't seen you for some time. How long has it been?
It's been 4 years, Mr. Gerard. We met last in a nightclub with a group of mutual friends.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. You were captivating that evening, and may I say you're most charming tonight?
What a lie.
I've often wondered if I'd ever see you again.
Have you? Well, here I am.
And I'm flattered. Highly flattered.
And just as conceited as ever.
Very happy you're here.
You won't be when you hear why I came.
No? Oh, how disappointing. I was sure you came just to see me. Me alone.
I did come to see you alone. Are you alone?
Of course. You're perfectly safe here, Mrs. Marshall. Mrs. Marshall. The Mrs. Marshall of the Blue Book. Sylvia de Levante. Remember the Club National in Detroit? The Folie Nationale, starring Sylvia de Levante, direct from London. I can see it now.
So can I. What of it?
Does your husband know all about that?
He does.
I doubt it. Maybe he'd be interested to know, huh?
I don't scare, Mr. Gerard. And why are you on the defensive? Maybe you know why I'm here.
Oh, now, please, don't disappoint me.
I came here to appeal to your decency, if you have any.
Well?
Jean Marshall is a fine girl. I want you to leave her alone.
I beg your pardon?
Her father is the finest man who ever lived. He worships her. Jean is under the impression that you intend to marry her. I know better. If Jean got mixed up with you, it would kill her father.
Did Jean tell you we were going to be married?
Yes, and you've led her to believe that. But you know you've no such intentions, and you're going to the mountains with her in the morning.
That's right.
But not to get married.
Mrs. Marshall, if you were to run along home now and forget all about this and tend to your own business, I might see to it that your husband never knows all about you that might be told.
You don't like Jean's father, and he doesn't like you. Why would you want to marry a girl under those conditions?
That is none of your business.
Maybe I'll make it my business.
You do, and I'll guarantee you'll regret it. You'd better run along now.
Then you won't listen to me. My appeals to your sense of decency mean nothing.
Now, look, I've had... You better get out of here. Go out through the back way and through the other hall.
Very well, but please consider what I say.
Yes, I'll consider. Go on. Just a moment.
Darling, I had to see you.
Why, Jean.
I just couldn't stand to be away from you so long.
I didn't expect to see you this evening.
I knew you said you were going to be busy tonight, but I'll just stay a moment. Oh, Frank, darling, it's been a million years this day.
Yes, dear, I missed you terribly, but, well, I didn't expect you, and...
I just want to see you for a second, that's all. Are we driving tomorrow or taking the train?
We can drive if you like, not far.
I can take my car. I love to drive the top down, and yours isn't convertible.
All right, we'll take your car.
All right. I'll go now. Night, darling. Tomorrow's going to be the most wonderful day of my life. But I've said that before so many times.
Good night, dear.
Frank here. Where are my slippers?
What? Who is that, Frank?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Frank, darling, what on earth has become of my...
Sylvia.
Why, Jean.
What are you doing here in those pajamas?
How'd you get into that bedroom? What are you doing in my pajamas?
Why,
So you didn't know Frank Gerard. Never met him. No wonder you tried to talk me out of
Jean,
marrying
listen
him.
to me.
And you had a business appointment. So this is your appointment. This is why you couldn't leave this morning.
Jean, she just came here a minute or so ago.
You
I didn't know...
expect me. I thought you were terribly startled when I walked in. I see it all now.
Jean, will you wait?
Sylvia warned me. She told me you were no good. Now I know why. She was telling the truth. Sylvia knows you. You despicable rat.
Well, Mr. Gerard, maybe that will take the wind out of your sails.
I'll just slip into that bedroom.
I'll change now, if you don't mind.
You think you're very clever, don't you? Well, how'd you like it if I picked up this phone and asked a friend of mine down the hall to step in here? Find you in this condition.
What? Well, you wouldn't do that.
That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Famous attorney's wife found in Frank Gerard's apartment in pajamas. How'd you like that?
Wait, don't do that.
It won't take a second.
Please don't. Please, I'll go.
You'll keep your mouth shut from now on?
Yes, I promise.
If I hear one peep out of you, I'll really make trouble.
Next morning, Sylvia Marshall gets a call to come to the apartment of Frank Gerard. A few moments after her arrival, Attorney Marshall gets a call at his office to come to Gerard's apartment. Now, Sylvia's talking to Captain Brent from headquarters.
But why have you called me here, Captain Brent?
Frank Gerard was killed last night. His body's in that bedroom.
What?
And on the floor of the bedroom, we found this locket with your name on it. Pictures of you and your husband.
But how could that have happened?
That's what we wanted to ask you about. How do you think your locket could get here?
I haven't the slightest idea.
Oh, hello, Captain.
How are you, Bill?
This is my daughter, Jean. Sylvia, what are you doing here?
I sent for her, Bill. Frank Gerard was murdered.
Murdered?
We found your wife's locket on his bedroom floor. I don't like to stir up more trouble than necessary, so I called you. Here's the locket.
This is yours, Sylvia. How did it get here? Did you know Gerard?
Yes. I knew him. Years ago.
What were you doing here?
I came here to talk to him.
What about? This is serious, Sylvia. The truth now.
Would you like to tell them, Jean?
What does Jean know about it?
Go ahead. Tell them, Jean. Very well. I came here to talk to Frank Gerard last night because Jean had fallen for him and was going to the mountains with him for the weekend. She thought he was going to marry her, but I knew better. That's how my locket got here.
Jean, is this true? Frank Gerard?
She's lying. I was here, but I learned she was in love with Frank, and I came here to persuade her to give him up for your sake. She was here when I came in the bedroom in pajamas.
Sylvia.
That's right. I thought I could convince her that he was no good. So when Jean knocked, I slipped into the bedroom instead of out of the back door, put on the pajamas, and stepped into the living room. But I left a few minutes later, and I didn't kill Gerard.
Were you in love with this man, Jean?
No. I didn't even know him.
Jean, how can you say that?
I'm sorry to say it, but Mrs. Marshall is in a tough spot, especially with this locket.
You didn't know this man, Jean?
No. I left here before Sylvia did. So if anybody stabbed him, it must have been Sylvia. I certainly didn't kill him, if that's what you mean.
Well, we've got one more suspect coming, I hope.
Here she is, Captain. Kind of waiting for a train.
Oh, yes. Come in, Miss Laverne.
What's all this about?
Just want to check on a few things, Annette. When did you see Frank last?
It's been weeks and weeks. They split up. Why, what's happened?
Frank is, he's in that bedroom. He's been murdered.
Murdered? Oh, no.
You haven't seen him for weeks and weeks, huh?
No, I haven't.
Turn on that dictaphone machine you found, Sergeant.
What did you say, Annette?
Frank Gerard, if you marry this Marshall girl, if you even see her again, I'll kill you.
Kill me?
Yes.
Well, I think you're bluffing, Annette Laverne.
I'll show you.
I intend to see Jean Marshall many, many times. And if I decide to marry her, I will.
That, Annette, is your own voice. Gerard recorded that on this dictaphone. You threatened his life, didn't you?
Yes, but I didn't shoot him. I couldn't have killed him. I love Frank.
That, Miss Annette Laverne, is the most conclusive evidence I've ever come across.
I didn't kill him. I didn't, I tell you.
Come along, Annette. Sorry, but there's nothing else I can do.
How did you say Gerard was killed?
With a paper knife. He was stabbed.
Miss Laverne, I'm William Marshall, and I'm going to defend you. I think you did society a good turn.
What?
If you consent, I'll defend you. And from what I know of this case, I'll practically guarantee that you'll be acquitted. How about it? May I help you?
Yes, but I'm innocent.
You're innocent of any wrong as far as I can see. I think what you did is pardonable.
Yes, Mr. Marshall, so far as you can see, Annette did a good deed. Gerard was a blot on society. The evidence is conclusive against her, but you'll get her an acquittal. And why? Because you know she deserves an acquittal. She didn't kill Gerard, but you know who did. Yes, your daughter, Jean. And how do you know? Because Jean was the only person who knew how Gerard was killed. Jean said that if anybody stabbed Frank, it must have been Sylvia. No one had mentioned how he was killed, so if Jean knew he was stabbed, she must have been in the room. But Gerard is out of the way now. He'll be no further trouble to anyone.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time,
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual tale. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Stay tuned to HOJO Radio.
Have you heard the strange tales of the Whistler?
I'm the Whistler.
can't leave me now, Elizabeth. I need you. I've just come from Dr. Elston. It's my eyes. I'm on the verge of going blind.
Another Sunday night, and again CBS presents The Whistler.
I, the Whistler, know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales, many secrets hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. And so I tell you tonight the extraordinary story of In the Dark. Thomas Northcote was a very busy man, a marine architect, a wealthy shipbuilder. And by the summer of 1940, he found himself working harder than ever and longer hours. He became the victim of severe headaches. So finally he visited his friend and physician, Dr. John Elston.
The pain isn't constant, you say, Tom?
No, it comes and goes. When it strikes, it's almost unbearable.
Been working unusually long hours, haven't you?
Yes. All day and for the past 6 months till midnight. What do you think is wrong with me?
Well, when a man passes 40, he's subject to a lot more things than when he's younger.
Yes, but what is wrong with me?
Pretty exacting work, yours.
Why don't you tell me? Can't afford to spend the day here.
Oh, don't get excited. Calm down, I'll tell you. But you won't like to hear it.
What? You don't think I'm losing my mind?
I didn't say that.
But that's what you mean.
Please, Tom.
That's ridiculous. Why, I've known all about my family for 200 years back. Not a trace of insanity in one of them.
I said nothing about insanity.
Well, then, what are you talking about?
It is possible, however, to throw yourself completely off balance by overwork. Worry, mental strain.
I know.
Your nerves are shot to pieces. What does Elizabeth think about your working like this?
I don't know. What can she say? It's got to be done.
Well, Tom, you're going to let someone else do it for a while.
What?
I mean it. You're headed for a nervous breakdown. And something else.
What else?
Blindness.
Good heavens.
You have an eye condition which has become aggravated by environment.
What can be done about it?
Stop work immediately, rest, get outdoors, get away.
For how long?
A month at least, maybe longer. Put that yacht you built to some use. It's been tied up for over a year.
Are you sure about all this?
Positive.
All right, John. I've no choice in the matter. I'll drop in again in a few days.
Of course. Goodbye, Tom.
So Tom, completely flabbergasted, goes back to his office and tries to finish some plans and specifications. But he cannot keep his mind on the work, so he goes home early.
Well, good evening, Mr. Northcote.
Good evening, Billings.
This is most unusual. I mean, we didn't expect you for dinner.
I know. I didn't feel so well this afternoon.
I'm sorry, sir.
Isn't Elizabeth having dinner here?
No, sir. Mrs. Northcote hasn't had dinner in for several weeks.
I didn't know that.
She's been going out every evening.
Well, I don't want much. Something light.
Very good, sir. Oh, there's a letter for you in the library.
A letter?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Billings. Letter, eh? Certainly not a business letter. No return address. If your wife Elizabeth doesn't stay away from a certain man, there's going to be a scandal in this town that you won't like. A friend. Good heavens. Stay away from a certain man. Billings! Billings!
Yes, Mr. Northcote?
Do you know where Mrs. Northcote has gone?
No.
Did she say who she was to meet?
No, she never does.
Just goes out for the evening?
Oh, sometimes in the afternoon as well.
I see.
You look a bit pale, sir. Shall I call Dr. Elston?
No, Billings, I don't think he could be of much help at the moment. I'll be all right. Good night.
Tom moves slowly up the stairs to his room and goes to bed. He has difficulty falling asleep, stares into the darkness, and through his mind runs the phrase, certain man, a certain man. But what man? Finally, he drops off to sleep. He rises early and without seeing Elizabeth goes to the office to wind up his affairs, then arrives home early again. But Elizabeth is not there. Elizabeth is sitting in a cocktail lounge with Charles Carroll, her attorney.
I never see Tom anymore. He leaves early, comes in late. Business, business, business. I just can't go on like this. It's driving me mad.
You're no different from a lot of women in this country. Production is speeded up, and there's nothing a man can do about it.
But if Tom loved me, he could find a little time to spend with me.
You still love Tom.
I did, but his indifference has made me cold as a cucumber.
Yes, but you have everything. Money, position. Why throw it away? This condition may only be temporary.
I can't understand you, Charles. We went through puppy love together. Went through school together. Then we drifted apart, and I met Tom.
Why can't you understand me?
Because for 3 weeks now, and I've seen you almost every day, you, of all people, have been trying to talk me out of divorcing Tom.
That's right.
But do you want me to go on like this?
I want you to be sure, Elizabeth.
I am sure. Are you afraid you'll lose some business if I divorce Tom with you as my attorney?
Elizabeth, you know I'm terribly fond of you. I always have been and always will be. Your happiness means a great deal to me. That's why I don't want you to take this step until we're sure that you'll not be sorry later.
You're the one who isn't sure.
Darling, it's for your own good. Please wait.
All right, Charles. If that's the way you feel, I'll wait.
Good.
Can you drop me off at my place?
Yes, I can. But...
But what?
Well, look, Elizabeth, I'm going to be very busy for the next 2 or 3 days. And we've talked over this situation for weeks, so suppose you think on it for a while and make up your own mind. And call me.
Why, of course, Charles. I have been taking a lot of your time lately. I'm sorry.
It's all right, darling. Come along.
Charles takes Elizabeth home and leaves her at the door. Tom Northcott is in the library waiting for Elizabeth.
Tom? Huh. What on earth are you doing home so early? Well, I'm certainly surprised.
Are you?
What's happened?
What did you do this afternoon?
The same thing I do every afternoon and every evening. Try to kill time.
I suppose it has been rather boring lately, since I've had to spend so much time at the plant.
Yes, it has.
Been playing bridge a lot, have you?
Yes. Bridge and parties. Oh, there are a number of things one can do when one has to.
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but this extra heavy load of business is not of my own making. I thought you would understand.
I understand that you work hard, that you're very busy. But even when you're here, you seem to be completely unaware of my presence. You come in late, go to your room without a word, get up with the birds, and leave without a word.
I wasn't aware of that. But I suppose it's true.
I was able to stand it at first. And then I became horribly lonely. So lonely I couldn't bear this house another moment. So I started going out here and there.
That should have helped?
For a while. You had changed, Tom. I did attribute it to business, but when you changed so completely, became so indifferent toward me, I suddenly realized that you no longer loved me. And then I changed.
You changed?
Yes. Finding some way to occupy my time is no longer the difficulty.
No. What is the difficulty?
My difficulty is forcing myself to come back to this empty shell each night.
You think I don't care for you?
What else could I think?
You're saying you've lost your affection for me.
Yes.
And you found someone who is more attentive?
I have many friends whose company is most pleasant.
A man?
Friends. Men and women. Friends who understand.
Elizabeth, they don't understand. And you don't understand. In another moment, you'll be telling me you want to leave me.
I do. I can't stay here any longer.
Then we'll both leave together.
What?
This is all a complete misunderstanding, Elizabeth. We love each other, regardless of what you think. This can be remedied very easily.
No,
Please
Tom.
listen to me. I need your help.
Help? What do you mean?
For some time now, I've been ill. I've said nothing about it, but it's grown worse. The pain has increased.
Pain?
Yes, in my head, in my eyes. Flashes of light. I went to see Dr. Elston.
John.
Yes, Dr. Elston. He told me that I must quit work, take a complete rest, or go blind.
Blind? Oh, Tom, how awful.
We'll take the yacht, Elizabeth. A long cruise. It'll save my sight, and it'll help us, too. We can pick up where we apparently left off.
But, Tom...
Please, Elizabeth, I need you.
All right, Tom. I'll go.
We can leave in a few days, and we needn't go alone. If you prefer, we can have some guests along. Oh, would that help?
Yes. Yes, I believe it would.
Very well. Who would you like? You select someone you'd like to have along, and I'll select someone. People we both know.
Yes. Well, I'd like to have
Yes?
Dr. Elston.
John. You'd like to have him along?
Very much. He's charming company, and besides, he may prove valuable.
And it's John Elston. I'll ask him tomorrow. And say, how about Charles Carroll? Always liked Charlie. And Marge Durant. They're still engaged, aren't they?
Why, I don't know.
By George, Elizabeth, I'm going to enjoy this trip. I feel better already. I wonder if the doctor will join us.
I'm sure he will.
Well, if he turns me down, I'll let you talk to him. I'm sure you can persuade him.
Next day, Tom visits the doctor, John Elston, and after some persuasion, the doctor accepts the invitation. Then Tom runs into Marge Durant in the doctor's waiting room.
Well, hello there, Marge. How are you?
All right.
Haven't seen you or Charlie in some time. How is Charlie?
Oh, all right, I guess.
You guess? Haven't you seen him? Don't tell me you two have broken off your engagement.
Oh, no, not officially. Charles has been exceptionally busy for several weeks.
Well, you mustn't be too hard on us men in times like these. We don't mean to be neglectful.
No?
I'm taking a cruise in the old yacht. Going to leave in a few days. Be gone several weeks. How would you like to join us?
Us?
Yes. Elizabeth and me. And Dr. Elston. He's just accepted.
Well, I'd love to go.
We all need to get away from things now and then.
We certainly do, but I don't...
Oh, I've already asked Charlie. And he said he'd love to go, if I could persuade you to go.
Charles said that?
He did. So you'll have a chance to see him every day.
Well, I'll be tickled to death to join you.
Good. The party's complete. Come aboard Saturday night. We'll sail early in the morning. See you later, Marge.
Now it is Saturday evening, the eve of departure. After an early dinner, Tom, suffering from severe head pains, goes to the library where he dozes in an armchair.
Tom? Tom? Tom, wake up.
Huh? What? Oh, Elizabeth. I must have had quite a nap. Well, the pains are gone. I'm glad of that.
It's 8:30. We better leave for the yacht.
8:30? Good heavens. Turn on the lights, Elizabeth.
What?
Push the switch.
Tom.
What's wrong, Elizabeth?
Tom, the lights are on.
What? Elizabeth.
Yes, I just turned them on.
Good Lord. It's happened.
Oh, Tom, I'm terribly sorry. Shall I call the doctor?
No, wait.
We better cancel the trip.
No, please. I'd rather go on. And I'd rather we didn't say anything about this. I'm sure it'll pass. We'll go ahead. And I'll bluff it through for a while. You'll help me. Won't you, Elizabeth?
Yes, Tom. I'll help you.
Tom notifies his skipper he'll be late in coming aboard. Then when he is sure his guests on the yacht have retired, he and Elizabeth arrive, and he goes to his cabin. Next morning, the guests lounge in the sun on the afterdeck. Tom appears and moves along the deck to the stern, stops, and leaning against the rail, lights his pipe.
Morning, everybody. Wonderful day, isn't it?
Yeah, clear as crystal.
Where are we going?
Does it matter, Marge? This is a cruise to nowhere. The less we know about where we're going, the bigger surprise we get when we get there.
Don't you know?
No, my skipper does. Makes it more interesting, don't you think, Doug?
I suppose so.
That was Elizabeth's idea. Wasn't it?
Are you asking us?
Oh, I thought Elizabeth... That is, I thought she told you.
It's a swell idea just the same. Eh, Charles?
Yeah, it's all right with me.
Hope the weather stays like this.
Yes, I was wondering about those dark clouds gathering off there. They mean anything, Tom?
Oh, yes. Well, maybe not.
Pretty black, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Where are you looking? Over here, Tom, on the port side.
Huh? Oh, those. Well, they are dark, but we may see them for days and never contact them.
I hope you're right. I'm not much of a sailor.
No?
How about you, Elizabeth?
Oh, good morning, dear. Sleep well? I've had the best rest in years. You look lovely this morning.
Tom, what's wrong with you?
What do you mean?
Good morning, folks. Sorry to be such a sleepyhead, but I was dead tired. How do you feel, Tom?
Why, confound it, my best pipe.
I'll get it.
Wait a minute. If Tom can get it, it's right at his feet.
John.
Here it is, Tom. When did this happen?
Last evening.
You weren't going to tell me, and to bluff it through.
Yes. You knew it was going to happen this soon, but you said if I took a rest, it'd be all right.
I didn't want to alarm you. I hoped my diagnosis was wrong.
But you knew it wasn't. I'm sorry. Tell Captain Baker I want to see him in my cabin. Please forget all this and try to enjoy yourselves.
I'll help you to your cabin, Tom.
No, thanks, Charlie. I designed this ship. I built it. I know every corner and cranny.
What a rotten shame.
Poor Tom. Poor fellow.
That evening after dinner, Elizabeth visits Dr. Elston in his cabin. A half hour later, Tom gropes his way along the rolling deck toward the doctor's room. Elizabeth has just left.
Did you say come in, Doctor? I couldn't quite hear. Storm coming up.
Yes, of course. Come in, Tom.
I wanted to talk with you, John, before I turned in.
Certainly. Sit down, Tom.
Yes. Here we are. Not a bad storm. Not bad at all. This will blow over.
Yes, I suppose so.
Oh, that's strange. That odor. You don't smoke, do you, John?
Well, once in a while. Why?
I smell a strong odor of tobacco. The same peculiar aromatic blend Elizabeth uses.
Well, it's quite possible. Elizabeth was just here.
Really? Poor girl. She's terribly upset about me. Came to talk over my condition?
Yes, she's quite worried.
I can imagine. And you're worried, too. Aren't you, John?
Well, I'm concerned.
Oh, this is a terrible thing. One can't possibly realize how terrifying it is till it happens to him.
I think I can fully appreciate it, Tom.
Can you? I wonder.
Think you better turn in.
Well, perhaps you're right. I should steel myself against sympathy. Sympathy of others and sympathy for myself. Poor Elizabeth. I feel sorriest for her. What a fate. To be tied down to a blind man for the rest of her life.
She'll understand. I'll look after Elizabeth.
Will you, John? That's awfully good of you. I appreciate that.
Better run along to bed, Tom. Get all the rest you can.
Yes. Yes, of course. Good night, John.
Good night.
The next evening, after dinner, Elizabeth is in her cabin. Elizabeth feigned seasickness and did not appear. So Charlie Carroll goes to her room.
You're not seasick, Elizabeth? You and I have sailed rougher waters than these.
But I don't want anything to eat, Charles.
Now, please, darling, you can't go on like this. You've got to pull yourself together.
I know. But what am I going to do? I'm bewildered. A few days ago, I was positive he didn't love me and I didn't love him. Now this happens and everything has changed.
How do you mean?
Well, now I'm sorry for him. And the indifference has changed to something else.
Changed to pity?
Perhaps that's it.
You mean you don't want to divorce him now? Huh?
I don't see how I could.
Afraid of what people would say?
Oh, no. But somehow it just doesn't seem right. Now Tom's different. Maybe it took this darkness to show him the light. I mean... Oh, I don't know what I mean.
No. Elizabeth. Come on, darling, get a hold of yourself.
Oh, Charles. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
Don't say anything, darling. Everything will turn out all right. I know what to do.
Charles, you're a darling. I don't know what I'd have done without you all these long weeks.
Now just take it easy.
Well, take a look at that, Doctor. We certainly ought to apologize, but we were stricken dumb.
Marge, what are you talking about?
Oh, dear, the sweet little innocent. You give them a lecture on life, Doctor.
Now, wait a minute, Marge.
For 3 weeks, Charles has been busy. And this is why. What a nice way to be busy.
Marge, please. You're jumping to conclusions.
Jumping? Are you kidding? Charles has been avoiding me for 3 weeks, and there's the reason in all her glory.
Marge, you're out of your mind. You can't believe such a thing.
Of course not.
Not unless I heard it, and I heard it and saw it. Tom would just love to hear about this.
Marge, you mustn't.
No? Watch me. Just watch me.
Don't worry, Elizabeth. I'll stop her.
What is it, Doctor? Come in.
Tom, I want to talk to you.
What do you want, Doctor?
I want you to turn the ship around and go home.
Oh, but that's silly. You needn't worry about me.
I think you should turn around.
What are you so upset about?
I insist that you take the ship back.
You seem frightened, Doctor. What do you anticipate?
An unpleasant situation exists aboard the ship.
What?
I'd rather not say.
But I don't want to return. Unless you can give me a good reason. Can you?
I'd rather not say.
You're afraid of me, aren't you?
Certainly not.
I know what's troubling you. You know that I know about you. You and Elizabeth.
What? Why, you're crazy.
You and my wife have been seeing each other for weeks and weeks. You realize now that I know the truth. You're afraid that I might do something drastic. That I might kill you.
Such nonsense. Wait a minute. Is that why you were so insistent that I come on the trip?
Maybe.
I don't know where you got such an idea, but you're all mixed up. If she's been seeing anybody, it hasn't been me.
Oh, come now.
I didn't want to tell what I know, but I see now that I'll have to. You come with me to Elizabeth.
Elizabeth? You expect me to believe that she'll tell the truth?
You come along just the same.
Let's wait till morning. Pretty rough weather tonight. Waves are breaking clear over the decks.
No, I don't want to wait till morning. Now.
Very well, Doctor. If you insist.
I'll lead the way.
Doctor, wouldn't want you to get washed over the side. That'd be too bad.
We'll go around by the stern, up the other side. Look out, here comes a big one. Hang on.
Doctor, where are you? Doctor!
I've got him, Mr. Northcott. He almost went over.
Is he? All right, Captain?
He got a deep wound in the back of his head.
Must have struck the opposite rail when the wave hit.
I think he's dead, Northcott.
Dead? Good Lord.
He's dead, all right. I'll get him off the deck before we hit another big one. Better get back to your quarters, Mr. Northcott. Hang on to rails.
Elizabeth, are you here?
Yes, Tom. What's wrong?
Something terrible has happened. An accident.
An accident? What is it?
It's Dr. Elston. He's dead.
Dead? What are you saying?
He was coming along the afterdeck, and a big wave came over and washed him against the opposite side. Struck his head. The captain says he's dead. Well, why don't you say something? Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Charlie, I didn't know you were here.
She's fainted.
Fainted? Really? Well, that's strange.
Elizabeth. You're all right, darling. Here, drink this.
John. John. Oh, John.
Oh, here you are, Tom. You're just the one I wanted to see.
Yes, Marge?
What's the matter with her?
She fainted when I informed her that Dr. Elston had been killed.
Doctor, what happened?
A big wave tossed him across the deck. He struck his head on the opposite rail.
Oh, Betsy.
Poor John. Let's turn back. I can't go on.
And why can't you go on?
I just can't. Please turn back.
That's ridiculous. We'll have to bury him at sea, of course, but why shouldn't we go on?
Are you out of your mind?
No. Why are you so terribly upset about the doctor? Why?
How can you ask such a thing? You sound as though you didn't care.
Maybe I don't.
But it's very obvious that you do.
You're out of your mind.
Would you faint if anything happened to me? No. But the doctor, that's different.
What are you trying to say? What?
You and the doctor. I found out days ago. You tried to blame me, but I know differently now. I received a letter from someone telling me that you were running around with a certain man. That man was John Elston.
I never heard of such a lie. I haven't seen John in weeks. Who sent you that letter?
I did. But I wasn't referring to John.
You sent it. And who did you mean?
I meant you. You and Elizabeth. You've been seeing each other every day for weeks. You and Elizabeth think you're clever, but you're not.
You sent the letter?
Yes.
And it wasn't John?
No, it was Charles. I've seen them. They've been meeting every day for weeks.
We have been meeting every day for weeks.
You admit it, then?
Certainly, but not for the reason you think.
You're both stupid.
Then why were you meeting?
Charles and I are old friends. And he is an attorney, my attorney. We've been discussing a divorce.
Divorce?
Yes, I was determined to divorce you. But Charles tried to talk me out of it. We've been arguing for weeks.
Certainly. Marge, you're nothing but a silly little troublemaker. I've known that for a long time. Now, maybe you know why I broke off with you, why I stopped seeing you. I wouldn't trust you across the street.
Now do you believe me, Tom? Come in.
Mr. Northcote. Dr. Elston just died. Just died? Why, I thought he was dead when you found him on the deck.
So did I. When I got into his stateroom, he regained consciousness for a few moments.
What?
Yes. I saw the wave strike, Mr. Northcote. And I also saw what happened just before it struck.
Yes, Captain, go on.
This man here is Johnson, one of the crew. He was with me when Dr. Elston regained consciousness. Tell him what the doctor said just before he died, Johnson.
Well, Dr. Elston said that he was walking ahead of Mr. Northcote as he struck him on the head with something. He fell, and the wave washed him across the deck.
That's right. Then he died. Search, Mr. Northcote, Johnson.
This is ridiculous. I own this ship.
But I'm the captain. Sorry, Mr. Northcote.
Oh. Here you are, Captain. A gun.
Mr. Northcote, you're under arrest.
And you're fired. Both of you.
Yes, Mr. Northcote, that's to be expected, but not until we tie up in New York. It's quite natural that you'll have no further use for this ship after I turn you over to the police.
You're a fool.
Johnson, radio port officials in New York and ask Mr. Svensson to put about.
Well, Tom, you had a plan, a setup for a perfect crime. But like all so-called perfect crimes, it failed. You jumped to conclusions, worked a little too fast. Marge was wrong in her suspicions, and you followed along without investigating the source of the letter. Now Marge has lost Charles forever, and you have certainly, definitely lost Elizabeth. And you deserve what's coming to you. You planned the cruise with a diabolical purpose, and furthermore, you did not lose your eyesight. That was a hoax, a trick to trap the man. But very soon you will lose your sight, and your hearing, and your speech. In fact, you lose all your faculties, because you'll be dead. I know.
CBS has presented The Whistler. Original music for this production was composed and conducted by Wilbur Hatch. The Whistler is written and directed by J. Donald Wilson and originates from Columbia Square in Hollywood. Next week, same time...
I, the Whistler, will return to tell you another unusual story. Good night.
This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Thanks for listening to HOJO Radio. We'll be back again very soon.